Okay, we have to finish this live stream before midnight because I haven't renewed my XSplit membership. XSplit is what runs this whole show. XSplit and Myron, of course. Yeah, you do some things for the Wichita home office. He's a good kid, just a little wayward in his life. You know, once you get to be 40, 45 years old like Myron here, and still not married, you know, it just makes a man a little off. What? Pent-up frustrations. Well, you know, there's ways to deal with those pent-up frustrations, Myron. Exercise. Go to the gym. Work out those biceps. Yeah. Yeah, you need steroids. Welcome if you're new here. Who was here first? Myron, do you know? Oh, yes. Good and faithful servants. Chris Topher. Chris. Topher, comma, Chris. And east of Maine, say 10. Flea Bits. I won't call you a loser today. You usually are a loser because you're a flea. A bit's a flea. But yeah, Christopher, thank you for being here so early. I mean, your rewards are coming. For those of you who are new here, if you're a Christian, welcome. And if you're not a Christian, be nice to the Christians in the live stream chat because they watch these a little more frequently than other types of live streams. Maybe, who knows? Maybe not. But yeah, just treat them like you would a transatlantic person from across the pond because they're pretty sensitive as well. So be very nice to the Christians. And if you don't know me, most of the rumors you've heard about me are true. My tears can cure cancer, but unfortunately I've never cried, so cancer lives on. Let's my poker buddy, poker pal Daniel from Brazil sent me this, and he was really upset about this. He's an atheist. He's really upset. Well, why is he so upset? I got to see this for myself. And there's actually some good points in here, but I understand why he's upset, and I understand why a lot of Christians, non-Christians might be upset about videos like this on tithing. And I want the Christians to know that my members, my following, they tithe as well. And I've heard rumors that when you give to the PineCreek channel, blessings overflow. But that's good and all, but most of us are risk averse. So I need to add this. If you don't tithe to the PineCreek channel, I hate to say this, some bad things might happen. I'm not going to say what type of bad things. Well, but I've heard this story. What was that? I hate Windows 10. I heard this story about a guy super chatting me and then letting everybody know. And then it turns out he lied about it. I'd never received the super chat. And within minutes of him telling everybody that he super chatted me all this money, he dropped dead along with his wife. True story. They lied about their giving to PineCreek and they dropped dead. I had nothing to do with it. It was only the guy I work for. He probably had something to do with it. Okay, let's take a listen about tithing. And there's a really great, interesting challenge in this that's coming up that this guy gives, not me.
Put me to the test on this.
Is this quiet?
This is so basic.
I got it full blast.
And it is not complicated. And we make it complicated, and so we find excuses not to do this, and we don't demonstrate to God that we trust Him. And so what happens is we find ourselves trying to live on all of this, and we're not making ends meet, and we're struggling. And I understand how it goes. And you may even be thinking, okay, I wish I could do that, David, but I can't do that right now. I really can't. And I know it's hard. At least it's a hard decision to make. But once you start, God begins to bless everything else.
Okay, for the Christians listening, do you notice how he's talking? The manner in which he speaks? It's like, right? I'm not doing that to mock him. I'm doing it to show that It's actually very effective. If he could muster up a tear, it'd be even more effective.
And it's not so hard at that point. Ruth and I, when we were first married, we said, we're going to do this. We're going to live the way God asked us to do. And so from the moment we were married, we began to tithe, and we gave the 10%, whatever it was, as it changed over the years, and then even beyond the tithe. And we've watched God bless us in amazing ways.
Okay, what is this picture supposed to represent? I think this table is supposed to represent humans, or maybe even he and his wife, and this represents God. And they have given to God 10% or more, he said, and he and his wife have received huge blessings. Almost looks like they have more than God does. It's an NPR voice. Okay, let's not get political here. I promise there's going to be no politics during this live stream. This is all religious stuff. Thank you, good and faithful servant. Good question. Donated $20. I want to believe. Let Myron show his face on camera. Myron is like, well, we have rules here at the PineCreek channel. You cannot have any blemishes, any zits on your face. Your limbs have to be the same length. You have to have testicles. Myron fails all these. Now, don't blame me. These are the from the Wichita Home Office. We call it the criteria to be the high host assistant here. By the way, for you Christians who don't know, I'm giving you the requirements that Yahweh, Jesus himself, gave to be a priest in the Israeli tribe. True story. Yahweh doesn't like zits. Yahweh should be the spokesperson for, what is it, Clearsol? Thank you, Big Daddy. I tied to the PineCreek for the many blessings in form of granola and sandals. Yes, you will find blessings today, Big Daddy. I guarantee it. Something's going to happen to Big Daddy today that's going to be really good. I mean, it might not be fantastic like seeing a Taylor Swift concert, but it's going to be pretty good. Guarantee it. Like, he might go outside today and see the sunshine. I mean, what a blessing. And it's because of this donation he gave to the PineCreek channel today. I don't know why the rest of you are robbing yourself of these blessings.
Amazing ways where we've had cars last a lot longer than our cars ever should have gone. So I've said this before, but I wasn't much then, and I'm not a whole lot better now at changing the oil or things like that. And I always figured every 25,000 miles or so seemed to be the appropriate time to change oil in cars. And so we had cars that would go 250, 300,000 miles, and they just went further than they ever should.
What?
We had washing machines run longer than they should.
Okay, he just made an interesting claim, and some of you might be shaking your heads. And don't be critical of this guy. He's actually giving something that we can use as, when I say we, I guess I mean non-Christians. But don't take offense to this if you're a Christian. But this is something testable. Do washing machines last longer for Christians who tithe versus everybody else? This is testable. It might take a lot of work to actually get, let's say, 1,000 atheists or 1,000 Muslims, 1,000 Jews, 1,000 Christians, and record their washing machine history, their dishwashing. I did say washing machine or dishwashers, either one. When they bought it, and when they broke or just they had to replace it. And is there a statistical significant difference between the Christian dishwashers and washing machines and the non-Christian? For those Christians who tithe 10%. Thank you, Brave New History, for the donation. Myron loves a cheerful giver. Bless me, Myron. Myron he's a eunuch. He has no power. I don't know why you guys are fascinated with Myron. The real boss is sitting in the corner over there, which I will leave nameless since there's sensitive ears in the room. But yes, we should appreciate what this guy's saying because these are testable claims. And I want to ask the Christians. I want to look right into the camera and ask the Christians this question. Don't be scared by my eyes. Do you really think washing machines and dishwashers last longer for Christians who tithe versus not? Really? You do? What would change your mind on that? This test? It would. Okay. We got to get someone at the home office to work on this.
There was a period of about 9 years where whenever we would fly, we would always go to the desk and say, if this is overbooked, we'd like to be notify us.
Yeah, and the car thing. He said, had a car that go 250,000 miles because I tithe. That's what he was intimating. That's not God. That's a Toyota. Tux, one of my favorite, bestest friends, sells BMWs. He's going to hate that I'm saying that Toyotas are the best car out there. But they are. Let's be serious. The Japanese know how to make cars. Toyotas, Lexus. What else do we got? Is it Land Cruiser, Land Rover? One of the two. They're pretty tough. They can drive 400,000 miles. He's probably... Now, I must admit, if he's driving like some weird Chevy Malibu or something, and he got 300,000 miles, that's a miracle.
Bumped, and so we would get bumped, and they'd give us free tickets on another flight, and so we went about 8 or 9 years without ever buying tickets to fly. We flew a lot because we kept getting bumped, and we stayed in timeshares from my grandmother.
Did you hear what he just said? I'm feeling in my soul that I'm being a little too sarcastic, and it's going to turn people off. And I was told by Tyler Vela that before he left Christianity, that turned him off. I have to work on this fault. Yes, I have a fault, Myron. Okay, give me one. I got to work on this over sarcasm. He's admitting that he's been able to fly for free for years. Did he say a decade? Whoa. Now, this is a true giver. $20 donation just because. No expectations, even though I've told you that you will be blessed today. Sarcasm again. He's basically admitting that he rigged the system in order to get free flights for a decade. Just kept bumping and bumping and bumping. Reminds me of the guy who would get these memberships to these elite membership airlines and then just go to the airport, eat food, and then go home. Never had to buy groceries. He could be a pastor, I guess.
For free, and God was blessing what we had in incredible ways. Can I just say, if you're young, if you're in high school, if you're college, now is the time to start this. Don't wait. If you're just getting married, now is the time to start this. Don't wait.
He sounds like a financial advisor. If you're young, put away that $100 a month now. Don't wait. By the time you're retired, you'll have a huge nest egg.
But I know the way we think. We go, okay, this is wonderful. I guess that's the way it ought to work. But we go, you know what? We need to eat dinner out, and so we'll just borrow from God and take some from God, and we'll grab dinner. And God, you don't mind if we eat off of your table, do you? And so we kind of take some of God's and
don't eat a banana as a man on stage.
Okay, God, I'm sure you don't mind. And so
Not
we
that
take
there's
some of
anything wrong
God's
with
and put it back on our table. And God, we would do this, but mortgage is huge, God, and I don't think we can do the mortgage and give to you 10%, God.
Okay, for the Christians listening, what does the Lord like it when you don't pay off your debts? Does the Lord like it when you voluntarily take out a mortgage and then choose not to pay back those you owe? Doesn't the Lord say that when you give a promise, you should keep a promise, you shouldn't lie, and when you take out a mortgage, you've made a promise to the bank or the mortgage company to pay back your loans? Is this pastor really saying that you should give to God before you give to the debtors? Now, your debt has been paid, Christians, by Jesus. You don't owe anything. Oh, I like that. I mean, how does it look? I was going to say, how does it look if you don't pay your mortgage and you go bankrupt or they repossess your house? How does that look if that happens to a lot of Christians? Non-Christians will look around and say, oh, I don't want to be a Christian. Odds are I'll lose my house. Right? But I think what this guy is saying is, oh no, if you give to God first before you pay your mortgage, oh man, you'll pay off your house 10 years earlier. But this is a testable claim, right? What is the delinquency rate amongst Christians versus Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, atheists? How soon do they pay off their mortgage compared to those other religions or non-religions? We can test this. This is why I like this. And Daniel, I see you're in the live stream chat, and I know you were, this video made you upset. But I think, just like with God, even the bad things we can turn around for good.
And then, school debt. God, do you know? God, do you understand how much school debt I have? There's no way I could do this. God, I've got to pay off my school debts, and so I'm going to take some from you, God. And
don't Christians know that Biden is like God? He can get rid of that school debt. He can wash it away. Okay, no, I promise not to get political. Hey, Myron, can you in post get rid of that?
And kind of take care of that school loan. And kids, God, are going to need to go to college someday. And I don't want them to be strapped with school loans.
Kids shouldn't go to college if you're a Christian. Haven't you read the stats that once you go to college, there's like a huge percentage, it's something like 60-70% of Christians who go into college come out not being a Christian? Now they might go back later, who knows? But you're saving up money as a Christian family to have your kids go to school where it's going to lead them to go to hell or not heaven? You're paying for that. There's blood on your hands if you're doing that.
I need to begin to save some money for school, and so God, you'll understand, right, God? And someday I'm going to retire, God, I hope, and to do that, it's going to take some. We come up with all these excuses, all these reasons why we can't give to God, and before we know it, we've taken all of this from God, and so God, I know that you said you'd take all of this and that you would
that
bless it.
That thing was huge.
I need it, God. I desperately need it, and before you know it, we kind of show up at church on the weekends, and we give to God, and we kind of give him this.
Oh,
it's kind of tips, whatever I've got in my pocket, whatever's left over at the end of the month. God, that's what I got this month, God.
Question, does God need your money? No. I can enter the Christian worldview and tell you with full confidence, for every Christian listening, every Christian in the world is not going to disagree with this. God does not need your money. What he wants is your obedience, right? So maybe the people who are not giving are giving in other ways, through time. Maybe they're on the deacon board and they're helping the poor that way, by seeing who the real people need and or prioritize it. I'm starting to get a little frustrated, Daniel, just like you are. I'm trying to come up with a better way, but I'm going to let this play a little longer. And I think I want to hear his challenge, and then I want to give my own.
All of this to work on. And you stand back and you go, I don't understand why God isn't blessing me. I don't understand why God isn't taking care of me. And he says the same thing. He would say the same thing he said to the people in Malachi. You're cheating me. I've just asked you to return to me 1/10, and then I said I would bless beyond what you could ever imagine everything else. But you're trying to figure it out yourself. You don't need me. You're not trusting me. You're trusting in yourself. And all you're doing is giving me tips. And
he's speaking a little bit of truth here. Well, from the Christian point of view, he's speaking in all truth, or most truth for some Christians. Let me hear that again.
But you're trying to figure it out yourself. You don't need me. You're not trusting me. You're trusting in yourself.
Yeah, I think the Bible, the New Testament, is absolutely correct when it says it's harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than a camel to go through the eye of a needle. I think if you're an atheist listening right now or a non-Christian, I think you see why that's true. Because if you are not needy financially, and in 2023, especially in America, if you got money, you got options, you got choices, you got almost everything you need. You could even buy friends. Maybe not real friends, but. And so it's the poorer people, let's say lower middle class, people in poverty, who are the most desperate and are who are most likely to listen to this guy because they're desperate. It's like, I cannot pay my mortgage. I cannot pay my utility bills. I'm going crazy. Sometimes I think about just committing suicide because I have a family and I can't provide for my family. And this guy gives you hope. Well, if you just give more of what you do have, you'll have a full table of blessings. But isn't that so dangerous when you're taking advantage of the poor like that?
And all you're doing is giving me tips. And so here's my challenge to you. Why not put God to the test? And I understand it's a hard conversation. If you're married, then you and your spouse, you've got to have this conversation. It's going to be an awkward conversation. But if you're living under financial stress,
Well, put me to the test. He puts it in quotes. I just thought of something here. Doesn't it say, thou shalt not test the Lord your God? Hang on a second. Is this in the Bible? Where is this? Can someone tell me the Bible verse for that? Or is he making stuff up? Or maybe he's not quoting God. Well, test doesn't mean test there, Doug. But when he says, thou shalt not test the Lord your God, he's talking about asking for water-soaked napkins. Malachi 3, yeah. He said that verse earlier. Malachi, the Italian prophet. Wow. This is Malachi 3, verse 10. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this. Says the Lord Almighty. He was quoting Jesus. And see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that you will not have room enough for it. Test me in this. Oh, that's the out. In this. You can test the Lord your God in this way by giving God money, but you can't test him in any other ways? Isn't that convenient? Whoa, I mean, come on, Christians, you got to admit, from someone who's not a Christian to hear this, it sounds a little sus, right? As the kids say. It's okay to test the Lord your God when it comes to giving him stuff. But don't test the Lord your God when it comes to God giving you stuff, like a miracle. Huh.
stress, God says, I have a plan for you, and it's this. And you've been trying to take care of it here. How's that working for you? And how are you feeling that way? God says you don't have to do it that way. Now, we try to do everything we can as a church to alleviate as much of the pain as we can as you jump into this and take away even the risk. So we have a thing we call the 90-day tithing challenge.
Here it is.
The 90-day tithe challenge is this. You make the decision to follow God, and you demonstrate to him that you're trusting him by tithing for 90 days. And at the end of 90 days, if God hasn't taken what you have, the 90%, and blessed you and taken care of you in some way, then we'll just return whatever you've done over the 90 days.
A money back guarantee. This has to feel icky for Christians to listen to this, right? Braxton Hunter, I know you're listening. Just type in the live stream chat. This makes you icky, right? Michael Jones, you're from Inspiring Philosophy. You're listening, right? I know you're lurking. Just type in, admit to me, this is icky, icky, icky. A money back guarantee. You give your full tithes to the Lord, and if he hasn't blessed you, what did he say? We got to get the wording right.
But don't bless you and taken care of you in some way, then we'll just return whatever you've done over the 90 days.
And if he hasn't taken care of you in some way, oh, that's so fuzzy. So, no, we got to make this money back guarantee. It has to be in writing, and it has to be more clear. Like, what counts as being taken care of in some way? Being able to breathe, does that count? Taking a breath? Well, every breath comes from God. Every breath you take. No, I do not give a money back guarantee. Every tithe given to me, Brave New History, today, well, to the organization, I'm just eye candy. I'm the front man. But yeah, no money back guarantees. But I do like this. I like this idea. But I think it needs to be more specific, more detailed, more refined. Like, for example, if someone has stage 4 cancer and they're projected to die before the 90 days is up, that's better than what he's talking about. In fact, let's say they're projected to die in 24 hours. And just before they die, they make a 10% donation and to this guy, 90-day tithing challenge. Did God help them? See, there's no way this pastor is going to say, yeah, if he dies, then he got the ultimate blessing. He gets to go to heaven. I mean, you can't win against this guy if that's what he says. Thanks, my one black friend. Hi, hello, everyone. Does anyone recall Jesus giving a financial tithe? If so, where's that in the Bible? Well, he did say, give unto Caesar that is due to Caesar. But it wasn't his money, right? Jesus, from my understanding in the Bible, well, he had a job. They say he was a carpenter, but who knows? But it's like me taking money out of my checking account and putting it into my savings account, my one black friend. Like, if I'm God, do I need to give to myself? But then again, he prayed to himself too. It's all very confusing. But here's my challenge. I was an atheist when I was visiting my parents in Canada, and my dad made a comment similar to this guy about how if you want to be blessed, you should tithe. And he asked me if I give to the church. This was early on. I don't think he knew I was an atheist. And I didn't say anything. I let my actions speak louder than words. I pulled out my wallet in front of my dad, and I had several $100s in there. And I took out the several $100s, and I laid them on the table. And I said, if God wants it, he can have it. All he has to do is come pick it up. My dad didn't like that answer. But if you want to increase the confidence of Christians, this is how you do it. And I guarantee you, I will give you a money-back guarantee on this. Christians, buy a safe. Buy 2 safes, cheap ones, like, I don't know how much a cheap safe costs, but 2 small safes with, a little dial, and put the same code on each safe. Then lock one empty. Take that empty locked safe where only you know the combination, and you bring it to this guy's church. And you say, can you keep this for me, please? Just put it in a locked room in the church. And please don't touch it. Only I know the combination, so don't try to break in it. Just leave it there. Then what you do with the other safe. Christians, are you listening? This is for you. This is a challenge for Christians on tithing. With the other safe, if you make, let's say, $5,000 a month right now, I want you to take $500 cash and put it in your safe. Put it in, lock it up. And then this takes effort, by the way. This is not just, sloughing off. You got to go out, buy the safes, do this. And then once you get the 500 in, you lock the safe, and then you pray to God, Lord Jesus, this is my tithe. It is yours. And so I want you to just help yourself, take the money, and put it in a safe. I would like to give out of my own free will. You've given me free will, Lord. Thank you so much for my free will, Lord. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want you to take this tithe to the LCBC church, I think they're in Pennsylvania, and put it in that safe. In fact, just to be, interesting, make it 531 cents, 41 cents. Make it not a round number. And then after the 30 days is up, open the safes. Now I tell you, if you're a Christian and you open up that safe and it's empty and only you know the combination, nobody's broken into it, and then if you go to church and ask them, and then you open up the safe at the church and it's the exact number, $500.31 in that safe, nobody's tampered with it, you have my blessing to be highly confident that God was involved. It's not certainty, there could have been some chicanery going on, but try it again. Beef up security if it works the first time. Do it for 3 months, 90-day tithing challenge. Thou shalt not test the Lord your God. Malachi 3 says, go ahead and test me on this. When it comes to giving, it's okay to test. See if God's going to give you a blessing. This is the blessing, that your confidence is increased, that your God's real and actually does stuff. He's transferred money from your safe to the churches at your request. You don't even need routing numbers with God. He's the ultimate routing number. You don't need the Federal Reserve and the Treasury and the banking system. God can transfer the money. Are you smiling, Christians? No.
But don't think it's about us, and don't think it's about church. If you think it is about us and us trying to get your money, then give it to another church.
Oh.
It's not about us. It's about you.
Now that I have respect for. If you think I'm just asking for your money, no. But one could be cynical. Heaven forbid me ever being cynical. But isn't that a great way to get people to give to your church when you say, no. You can give to other churches. A bit of reverse psychology, maybe?
You.
Can I write God a check? I don't know. Cash is better. But I guess it would work if you write God a check. And then have that check gone and show up. No, this is better. If you write God a check, put it in your safe, and then in the church's safe, if it is automatically cashed, now we have something amazing. Yeah, I kind of like that. Write God a check, and then see if that check is cashed for the exact amount in the other safe at the church. Yeah, I like that.
And living with financial stress up to here, and God saying, you don't have to do that. It's about trust me. Do you trust me? God says. And so you can go to the website and find out how to get plugged into the 90-day challenge, but I would just encourage you, jump in. Don't hold back. And why would you hold back? When God says, I can take and I can do more with the 90% than you could possibly ever think of doing. And
it's all His to begin with. From the Christian worldview, it's already His. You, as a Christian, are God's property. You are a slave to Christ. That's like asking a slave on a plantation to give something to the plantation owner. He already owns you. He already owns it all. Oh, I like that analogy. So why do you need to give anything? He already has it. He has you in the palm of His hand, which not even PineCreek Doug can take away. I think that's the end. And then they sing a beautiful song. At the impulse of thy love. Oh, this is a nice hymn. Take my voice and let me I admit, this is beautiful, beautiful singing. And this is different than a lot of the other songs. But they all have that like slow, conjuring up emotion vibe to it. And it works. Like, who knows? If I listen to enough of this, I might be able to shed a tear and cure cancer.
Take my hand, surrender to your story.
These two should go on The Voice. I wonder if they get 4 chair turns.
My voice, and let me sing along.
Not only can this guy sing, but I hear he can clean a bathroom really well.
Take my love,
Mr. Clean.
take my life.
Okay, I'm going to open up the room for people to call in. If you're a Christian and you want to talk about tithing, you can. If you agree, tell me what you agree with, disagree with what I've said. Tell me if you let me know if this feels icky to you as well, or if you think it's totally fine. And we can also talk about other things. I know Christian wants to ask me some questions. He messaged me. The way you call in is I posted a link in the live stream chat. All you have to do is click it. And then I have to check my audio levels because Whereby likes to fiddle with it. You were raised in a Church of Christ a cappella. Ooh, I love a cappella music. Pentatonics used to be my favorite. I met them. Got the VIP package for my daughter. She was so nervous. I've been so good to my daughter. I mean, she better change my diaper when I get old because I've taken her to the Pentatonics. I've taken her to Taylor Swift. Oh, she paid for Taylor Swift out of her own money, though. But I still took her there. To be fair, the Mormon church is rich. So are the Moonies. Got to be doing something right in the eyes of God. Yeah. Mormons are not as rich as the Roman Catholics, though. Right? Thomas Paine, you're not a theist. Are you a theist, Thomas?
What was that?
Are you a theist?
No, I'm not.
No, we got to leave this open for the theists. But quickly, what did you want to say?
Doesn't tithing just give rise to hypersensitivity to confirmation bias?
Yeah, because now if you're expecting a blessing, you're going to be looking for it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say.
Perfect. I agree with you. Thanks for hopping on.
Later, man. Peace.
Yeah, that's a good point. When you're expecting something to happen, any little thing you say, oh, is that it? Is that it? Oh, that was a good thing. Maybe that's my blessing. Oh, that was pretty good too. Maybe that's my blessing. My pastor did this in order to get your money back. You had to meet with their financial advisor and share receipts. Oh my. I saw someone say this in the live stream comments earlier, but you can reverse this test. In other words, instead of looking for blessings, look for curses. Look for bad things to happen to you. Now, if you are a Christian, listen to me carefully. I know this is going to sound blasphemous to you, but hear me out. If you're the type of Christian who believes that your eternal salvation is secure, please hear me out. That nothing can change that. Then here's what I suggest. Go 90 days without giving any money to the church. You can still give money to other charities, but any church associated with Christianity, stop. for 90 days and see if anything bad happens to you. In other words, I'm asking you, if you're a believer that you have to give 10%, I'm asking you to disobey on purpose. Now, hear me out. You're not going to lose your eternal salvation. You yourself will tell me this if you believe that. So in the big scheme of things, you have nothing to lose other than to make God cry. But God's not going to cry. Like, he doesn't need your money, right? This is for your benefit. So if it's for your benefit, test it. Stop giving to the Christian church and see what happens. And if you get in an accident the next day and you break your leg, go ahead, start giving again. You have my blessing. But I have a sense that your life over 90 days, it's going to be about the same as it was the previous 90 days. I know tithing's not a New Testament principle. There's a Christian in here who doesn't know his Bible. His name is Kenny. He calls himself a prophet. So I'm going to have to teach him some things here. I hate to do this. But, sometimes an atheist has to do what an atheist has to do. Kenny is saying that it's not New Testament to tithe, and therefore maybe he's saying this, that we shouldn't have to worry about it. But let me bring up what Jesus said about tithing. Okay, this is Jesus, Kenny. I, Jesus, do not change. Will a mere mortal rob me, Jesus? Yet you rob me. But you ask, how are we robbing you, Jesus? In your tithes and offerings, Jesus replied. Jesus said, you are under a curse, your whole nation, because you're robbing me, Jesus said. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house, Jesus said. Test me in this, said Jesus, and see if I, Jesus, will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will be not enough room to store it, Jesus said. See what I did there, Kenny? You can't say as a Christian, oh, this is Old Testament, now we're in the New Covenant, New Testament. I am speaking the words of Jesus. If you believe that Jesus is God and God said this in the Old Testament, then he says it everywhere, at any time. Now you could say, well, this is for certain people at a certain time. Okay, granted, but don't give me that Jesus, New Testament stuff, New Covenant. Jesus at one time in history said this. Jesus wanted your tithe at one time. And if you're going to say, well, this is just for a certain people at a certain time, then maybe repentance is just for a certain people at a certain time. Where does it all stop? Maybe baptism was just for a certain people at a certain time. If you're going to throw away tithing, maybe throw away baptism. Are you willing to do that? Because Jesus said both. Half my brain tied behind my back to make it fair. Did I feel the spirit at Taylor Swift? The room's open. Mixil Bedlam, thank you for the very generous donation of $20. Bring back Why I No Longer. When I first found PineCreek, these videos were my favorite. Well, I did it today just for you. I was thinking, how can I bless Mixil Bedlam today? I will do this for you. Room's open for Christians to call in. Well, yeah, tithe is what you owe. You haven't even given anything as an offering if you only give 10%. Like, 10% is for the noobs. 10% is for, like, the rookies. It's the veterans. They give more. Once you're mature in Christ and you've eaten the meat and gotten off the Savior's breast, then you start giving 15, 20. I mean, but really, by becoming a Christian in the first place, you've given Jesus 100% already. Like, what good is a few $100 when Jesus has your soul? 100% of your soul. Some would say that's priceless. Rooms open for Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus. You Hindus hate me for some reason. You never call in. "10% of my actual income or the amount I report. Does God work for the IRS?" Well, if you want gross blessings, you tithe on your gross. If you want net blessings, you tithe on your net. Yes, Ray, the Lord your God accepts bulls, rams, lambs. Actually, speaking of which, I want Christians to be very honest with me when I ask this question and they think about their answer. You know those pagan religions? Long ago, they would kill their firstborn and offer it up to their gods as a way to get a blessing. All you modern Christians have done is changed it instead of a human life to cash. But you're still doing the same thing. You're offering something up to get something back. Well, at least according to this pastor, a blessing. Well, it's a promise, really, that if you do X, you'll get Y. It was a promise in Malachi 3. I mean, if it works for the chosen people, God's chosen people, the Jews, why wouldn't it work for Christians? That's just science. I'll put the live stream chat up here to keep you guys accountable. Not only is God watching this live stream chat, but everybody who watches the replay. Humans are friggin' weird. Yeah, we are. Yeah, I will make the claim that when people say, why would the Apostle Paul lie or do the things he did if it wasn't true, if he really didn't believe it? Money. I forget where it is, but there's a passage where Paul protesteth too much. I'm not doing this for the money. I'm not doing this for the money. That tells you that people even back then were being suspicious of Paul if he has to defend himself on it. Never thought about that, eh, Christians? Doug, do you think modern Christians are polytheists, Father, Son, and Spirit? Yes, but not for the reason you posted. Christians are polytheists, and it depends on definitions, but the traditional definition of polytheism, poly means many, theism means belief in gods. Now, belief in gods is subjective. What does it mean to have a belief in a god? Well, the most basic level, I would say, is the belief this God exists. That's the primary thing you need to believe in, that it exists. So as Christians, if you're a Christian listening, put on your seatbelt. You're going to be very, very offended. But when you hear my definition, you're going to have to nod your heads. You will have no free will in this. You will nod your head and you say, yes, according to that definition, Doug is right. Christians, you are polytheists. You believe many gods exist. You do. More than one. Even Satan is referred to as the God of this world. So we got Yahweh, Jesus, don't put up the middle finger, Doug. You got Yahweh, Jesus, the Holy Spirit. That's God number one, right? I'll give you that. God number two is Satan. More than one is poly. You guys are polytheists because you believe both exist. Maybe some Christians here don't believe Satan exists. But Doug, that's not what we mean by God. I mean, like, okay, I'll give you capital G, low G, doesn't matter. It's still the same word. Your God's the bigger, better, oompher God, right? Oompher God. That's a good name for a TV show. But you believe many gods exist. Christians are polytheists. I asked Heiser this, and he won't answer a question like this because his definition of God is different. Like you have to say like 100 times, yes, your God is all powerful, almighty, all knowing, blah, 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 blah. Yes, he's the best. He's the top God. He's the top most high God. Yes, blah, 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 blah. But you still believe many gods exist. You're a polytheist under that definition of polytheism. And a honest, sincere person who, under that definition, they will have to admit, yes, Doug, we are. But we don't like that definition. We prefer different definitions. So then we can say, no, we're not. Yeah, henotheist. Heno, how do you pronounce that? It's this guilt by association. Christians do not want to be viewed like Hindus. No. We're not like the Hindus. But in a way you are. No, we're not. Yes, you are. You believe many gods exist, and so do the Hindus. In fact, there's a lot of similarities, because some Hindus believe that Ganesh is the top god, just like Yahweh is the top god, and then there's all these other gods, or maybe representations of him. And the Christians would say, well, maybe angels are messengers of God, and so they're kind of like doing his bidding. Even Satan does God's bidding. Satan, the Satan, is the messenger of God in the Old Testament. So I should make shirts that says, I'm a Christian, I'm a polytheist. That'd be a great conversation starter. I'm a Christian, I'm a polytheist, ask me how. You're welcome, Christians, and then you can give the gospel message. Room's open. It doesn't matter to me if Christians or Muslims or whoever, theists, don't call in. It's just, I don't want to rob you guys of the opportunity to witness to me, to share the good news or the bad news, to ask me questions. It's a fault of mine. I'm just an extremely nice guy and love to give these opportunities to people. And if you feel shy, scared to come on, maybe grab a friend and we can have a threesome. Shouldn't have said that. I can make that shirt for you. I've always wondered, why didn't God destroy Satan? We would still have free will and could sin. Good question. I do think that's a question that a lot of Christians struggle with. I think the better question, though, is why did God create anything? Not only Satan, but why create humans? I mean, you humans are so needy. Doug, can't you ask Satan what the deal is? He's right there in the corner. I'll scare Christians if I do this. Well, they can hear you. Keep it down. and I don't want to scare them away. There is no Satan. Evil is not an entity, is the opposite of the creator's preference. Hey, Arturo, there is no creator. Good is not an entity. See how easy that was? Should we believe in God or the paranormal instead? That's like asking what smells better, cow manure or horse manure. And that was rude. I apologize. Edit that one in post too, Myron. Room's open. If you feel the tugging of the Holy Spirit on your heart, especially if you've never called in before, I want to give you that opportunity to obey the Lord your God. You're not Satan, Stephanie. But you know, Satan over there, he gets a bad rap. Nowhere in the Bible does he lie. He killed Job's family, but that's because God dared him to. Other than that, he killed no one. When he tempted Jesus in the garden or in the desert, he told the truth the whole time and said, yeah, God, Jesus, I know you want this story to be in the scriptures. Arturo, you didn't like my comment I gave you, did you? Oh, he left. He'll be back. ChatGPT can answer 99% of questions people ask it, but Jesus never replies to prayers. Oh.
And to close the right tab here. Wait. There you go. I think I got you.
Okay. So what did you want to say? You wanted to say that good is an entity?
Well, I just debate the notion of evil being an entity and Satan being an entity.
Okay, so you don't believe Satan's an entity, neither do I.
No. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, we can tackle any issue you like. Maybe we can start at your.
You're a hard person to talk to because
one.
I don't even think you know what you believe.
I know perfectly well what I believe, but I also say I don't have certainty. Nor does anybody else.
Yeah, that's given. We're not omniscient.
Yeah.
But
I guess we can pick your favorite. I guess the problem with evil, right?
Yeah, that's a good
Seems to
one.
be
Why did God create anything?
Okay, so I can only tell you my view. I'm not a standard Christian, as you know. I might be a heretic or whatever. But
no caveats. Just speak freely, like okay. Nobody's listening.
So basically, my view on creation and evil is that the problem is solved of God creating evil by viewing us conscious beings as eternal entities.
Did you hear my question?
What was the question?
Why did God create anything?
I don't think God created everything. I don't think God created.
Can you repeat my question back to yourself? Out loud. What was my question?
Why did God create anything?
Anything. Then you answered, okay. Well, I don't think God created everything.
Okay. Because
you're answering a different question. Why did God create anything at all?
Because conscious beings need creations to exist in.
Because God's need is your answer.
No, that's not what I said.
You said
because conscious.
Yeah, is
because
God
conscious beings, God is conscious, but He has His own reality. But there are also other conscious beings like ourselves, our soul. And we can only exist in creations, in realities where we can interact. I cannot interact with other conscious being if there's no real reality to back it up.
It's hard to talk to a guy like you because I don't think you fully understand the question asked. Like,
I think I do.
Because I'm asking a question that predates any conscious human beings.
There's no such thing in my reality, see? Because if we are eternal, then there's no predating us. Our souls are eternal. not created.
Oh, yeah, right.
You know what I'm
Okay,
saying?
I remember now. You believe I'm a god.
No, I'm not. I don't believe you're God. There
With a
is a
small g.
creator who can. No. There's a creator who can create entities that can be shared with other conscious beings, and there's us, lesser form of conscious beings, that can only create our dreams at night. That's our capacity, which is not a shareable
But you
reality.
believe God did not create me.
Yes, I don't believe God created your soul. Yeah, God created your
So-
entity here in
And
this
so
reality.
you believe my soul has always existed, eternally past.
Yes, and will always exist. And that's addressing your other question, poof or whatever. I don't think you have an option to extinguish yourself. I don't think God can extinguish you because you're an eternal conscious being. So whether you have a preference not to exist forever or not, I think, and I concluded that everybody will exist forever, whether they like it or not.
Yeah. Most Christians are throwing up in their mouth right now because
That's fine.
yeah, they don't want anything to do with you.
That's fine.
So
I
you're not a
don't want anything to do with
Christian.
them.
What are you?
But,
can I put
okay,
a label on you for the next time?
Yeah, okay. So this is how I can still summarize my conclusions. I still consider myself the follower of Jesus because I believe he carried the right message.
Are you a follower of Ganesh?
No.
No? How about Vishnu?
No.
How about Allah?
Their message doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The message that makes the most sense to me is what I believe Jesus' essential message was. And you can just throw out all the miracles, including resurrection, because it's not essential.
Do you believe the earth is round, a sphere, or flat?
Of course, come on. Yeah.
Okay, no,
believe-
I'm asking this. I'm asking this. Okay, what would you say to a guy who said, "I believe the Earth is flat," and I ask, "Why do you believe the Earth is flat?" Because it makes sense to me. And you know what? He's right.
then-
When you go out,
then-
it looks kind of flat.
Then you would leave that guy alone. Yeah, I mean,
Leave that guy
if
alone.
it's,
Okay, so the reason why I asked that question is to show that what makes sense to us may not be a good, reliable method to figuring out what is true, especially when it comes to matters like cosmology.
But which one is more important actually, to find out the truth or to find out
Well,
what
hang
makes
on.
sense?
Can you address what I just said? Like, do you agree with me that just because you say Christianity makes more sense to you, that doesn't mean it's more likely to be true, right?
No, it's not more likely to me. Maybe it's more likely to be. I deemed it's more likely to be true for me. It's my personal perspective.
Okay, so why do you follow Jesus then? Why do you think any of that stuff is true?
Okay,
and not Vishnu?
because the essential message of Jesus, of how I see it be, not how Christians tell me to be, aligns with my philosophy, my conclusions.
Because Jesus agrees with you, is what you're saying.
Basically, yeah, and him as an entity makes sense.
I follow religions that agree with me. I mean, that's just
Well,
science.
that's I believe somebody has would need to establish their.
And how did you form these?
first?
How did you form these philosophical conclusions that you currently have?
Okay, yeah. So I can go through it quickly because there's a.
Did you just read
lot of
books,
details, but
or did,
no. That's the thing. I don't want to read books. I want to go from the bare minimum that any human being can go from. So the bare minimum is nothing but your existence, and analyzing your existence. There are other beings like you, it's seemingly, and you have free will. You have different situations. Some of them are better than others. There's more misery involved in some people than others. So there's injustice in that way. And
okay,
try to find.
so you exist. You have consciousness. There's good and evil. Therefore, God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no. Basically, my argument is that I cannot see the probability of consciousness arising from material. Therefore, I switched to a different model of reality, which is simulation, which makes sense because of two things. I experience that nightly when I dream, and there's computer simulations that are possible.
Hey, Myron, give him the Matrix label. That's what we'll call him. Okay.
So
You're in the religion of Matrix.
It's not really Matrix, because Matrix supposes that all these realities are run on a computer, and which is not the
Okay,
case.
but you said you followed the teachings of Jesus, or no, that it aligns with you, or something like that.
Yes.
Let me ask you some.
Essential message of Jesus.
Do you believe Jesus was God?
Yes.
Do you believe he died for your sins?
No.
Do you believe he rose from the dead?
Hold on 1 second, please. One second.
I know the exact feeling. Dad, the toilet won't flush. I'm on a live
Okay,
stream.
I'm sorry. Yep. So yeah, where were we?
Okay, you said you believe Jesus is God, but you don't believe he died for your sins.
No, that's not why he came.
And do you believe he rose from the dead?
It's a possibility, but it's not essential to my belief system.
That's not my question. Do you believe that Jesus Christ rose from the dead bodily?
I don't have a specific belief on that. But
You're
it
exactly-
may have happened, it may have not.
You're exactly agnostic on it.
It could be so, it could be not so.
Okay.
Exceptions in the reality is possible, but they're not essential.
Do you believe Jesus
My
walked on
faith is not
water?
Overall, I believe all these miracles were made up for effect.
Now, you said to me just a minute ago that you believe Jesus is God. Do you think God can walk on water?
Well, God can do anything with the reality He created.
Well,
if He wants.
why don't you believe Jesus walked on water if he's God?
It's possible, but it's not essential. It doesn't make anything more true or less true or whatever.
You notice I didn't ask you if it's essential. I didn't ask you if it was possible. I just asked you, do you believe it?
Do you believe there are burglars out in the next town in the main square right now? It may be, maybe not, but you're not really concerned with that, right? Do you believe?
Well, the next big town to me is Phoenix, so I would say yes. There's probably someone robbing someone in Phoenix right now.
Yeah, I don't really worry about these miracles because I think they were made up for effect. So it's my conclusions and my beliefs are not relying or depending or being validated by these miracles.
Is there anything that would falsify your current beliefs? Wait.
Yes, there could be something that I would consider as making my belief less likely than
Like
I
what?
believe
What would
it
it
is.
be?
It would be a theoretical experiment where you would basically copy all my molecules and build me up, and then I would check if the resulting entity, the resulting being, would have the same consciousness as me, same memories, same feelings, same.
What about
decisions.
if we cloned you? Would that count?
No, because that's a completely
Okay.
different process.
What if we just download your everything in your brain onto a computer but we don't have the fleshy part? Would that count?
Yeah, that would count as shaking my belief. Yes.
Okay. So the difference I have similar markers to you on that respect when it comes to consciousness, but my default position is we're all just material and there's nothing spiritual, and there's no funny business. That's my default. Your default is that we are solely and spiritual.
Yeah, basically, I model reality with a simulation. So basically, we are participants in the simulation, just like at night, you go into your dreams and then you do some weird stuff there, and then you emerge from there and you realize, yeah, that's why I dreamed that, because I just had coffee last night where I was meeting this bunch of people, and that explains the reality. But while you're in that reality of your dream, you're not aware of all these external factors.
But what's the substrate of this simulation? Like with a computer simulation, the substrate is the computer, the hard drive. What's holding the simulation? What is it?
I believe the simulation is running in the mind, conscious mind of the creator.
Ugh.
It's not a computer, it's just a conscious mind. Just like my dreams are running in the conscious mind of myself.
So we're a dream of God right now. This conversation is a dream in the mind consciousness of God.
But we are sovereign beings within. So basically, we enter the reality as external players from some kind of default entity where we are sovereign beings, eternal beings.
And you believe that this conversation is running through the mind of God right now, and it exists in that form as a dream, because the reason why you believe this is because it happens to fall in line with what you believe.
Well, that's how I model the reality. Yeah.
It,
I mean,
it,
it's
ex- it
basically the same
explains reality
equivalent.
to you.
Yes, yes. Basically, science is valid all the way through. Everything that scientists would discover of everything, it's basically uncovering the internal mechanism and configuration of our reality, of our simulation. So it's the same
Where
way,
does your soul or mind
except
go when you die?
back to your originating context of reality,
Which is?
wherever we enter the dream from. Who knows? We can only
Or is it just
think.
like a neuron shutting down in God's brain? Is that basically what it is?
Well, neurons are no. I think it's basically when a player is exiting their video game, they're back to their original reality. Except they're aware that they've been also in the game. They're not aware, just like in dreams.
And all this beliefs you have right now, does it give you peace? Does it give you contentment? Does it make you feel good?
Yes, yes, and basically answers all my existential questions, including consciousness.
And if let's say for some reason we did build something like you from scratch, would you have existential
That's
angst?
something like me, because it's not like it's not something like me, because you could refer to artificial intelligence, blah blah blah. They're not. I don't view them as the same as the conscious human beings. But if you somehow do a molecular copy machine that can copy me as is, and then I can talk to myself, and basically the other thingy has the same dreams and memories.
Well, wait a minute.
Me, then I
so
would be
it doesn't
shaken.
falsify it then, because it's just an extra copy within the mind of God.
That means the material reality can result in your consciousness.
Okay.
To me.
Okay, good. So now, would you be sad if that came to fruition?
Yes, I would be sad. Yes.
You would be sad. Why would you be sad if that happened?
Yeah. Because then I can make up my own meaning, whatever I can want to do in life, but it's really just my subjective decision and plan, and ultimately,
why is
really
subjective,
matters.
just your own subjective plan, bad?
Because
why is it making you sad?
Because with my demise, nothing will have happened.
Oh,
Not just I exit, and then here's my family, and there's my legacy.
So if it doesn't last forever, it's not really
happens.
worth it.
Not that it's not really worth it, but there will be nothing that happened.
Sure, it happened.
No, once everybody exits, everybody dies, and there's no consciousness in the universe, nothing is existing.
Right, that's what I said. Unless it lasts forever, it doesn't count in your mind.
Yeah, so it's either materialism, which you say it is, we stop existing, or the other alternative is your consciousness does go on forever.
Have you ever seen the Lion King musical, or any musical?
No.
You don't go to musicals? Have you ever gone to a play, an opera, a show?
Opera, sure, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When you were sitting through that show, did you sit there, watch the show, and say to yourself, this is worth nothing because it's going to be over in about half an hour?
No, I don't say it, because after that, I know I can chew on it. I can think about it. That basically motivates me. But if 10,000 years from now, or 10 million years from now, there will be nobody conscious around, then everything that happened didn't happen.
You remind me of William Lane Craig. You got this existential angst in you, and unless it's satisfied.
Well, it's basically a major. I mean, are you thinking at the quantum field level? Are you thinking that these are observations that actually also define you, or are you thinking that these are observations at the very elemental level that are there, they are presented to you, and that's the decision. You go either way. Science will be valid either way, but in one way, you're in a simulated reality, and your consciousness comes from the external. In the other way, you are somehow emerging from all this material stuff.
I know,
and I just don't see the evidence for this somehow emerging to be.
I understand. I understand it gives you explanation, but to me, I think the real reason you believe the things you believe is what you just said. It's like you have this desire to live forever, and if you don't, if it doesn't, or this concept of consciousness living forever. And if you don't have it,
I don't necessarily have the desire to live forever. Sometimes I feel like you yourself. I wish there would be an end to all this, but I don't think that's a possibility. I don't believe that's a possibility, because then that would be equal to
I know, but
nothing
what I'm
happen,
saying
not
is,
just to me.
what I'm saying is part of the reason why I think you have this belief in the first place is because you told me just a few minutes ago that you would be sad without it.
I wouldn't say that I would be sad without it, but yes, if I think about opera, I can only enjoy it. I can only think that my life makes any sense if I would be materialist. If I can leave a better world for my grandchildren. But if the grandchildren are in the same shoes than me, then overall this whole thing doesn't make sense.
Yeah, if it doesn't
Because
last
sooner or
forever,
later,
it doesn't make sense.
Sooner or later, everybody will be out, and then if there's no consciousness, there's no value in material.
See, and I would submit to you that you're a primate. You're like a chimpanzee who's scared to die. The fear of not living forever, the fear of death, the fear of non-existence, the fear of materialism, and that's it. This is why you believe what you believe.
But I don't believe it's not true that I am afraid to die, or I've ever been afraid to die, and that's therefore I made up this belief. It's not the case, and I simply see this as more likely, making more sense.
Right, you see it as more likely, but do we have any evidence that a conscious mind can exist independent of the material, let's say?
No, you don't have evidence. You have hints in your dreams that you can actually slide into a reality which is more limited, and then you can exit from it, and then all of a sudden the context will be clear to you of why that dream may have happened.
So why do you believe this idea of this consciousness existing eternally past, like in the form of a mind?
Because I don't think
no evidence of it.
Yeah. So because I don't believe that it makes sense from a creator's perspective to keep creating conscious beings.
You're begging the question in your answer. I asked you, why do you believe, if we don't have evidence, why do you believe it, that there's this consciousness independent of matter? Well, because that's what I believe is your answer. I can't.
I misunderstood your question. Sorry. I basically believe because simulation, if I model reality as a simulation, then it makes more sense to have a creator.
Okay, your answer is because it makes more sense to me. Why does it make more sense to you?
Yeah. Because I model reality as a simulation.
Yeah, because it's what you already
believe.
believe.
For my consciousness.
We're going in circles.
It can account for my consciousness.
It can account.
Yeah, but
a lot of things can account for your consciousness. Like,
no,
I don't want to sound like Matt
Dillahunty
here, but he could say little pixies on a galaxy far, far away made your consciousness. Sure. That accounts for it too.
It could be, but I don't deem that more likely than my scenario.
I just think that
to be the more
you
likely.
and I agree that there's this material world. We see cause and effects. We can observe it.
Limitations of your reality.
You and I agree on all this. Why introduce this new category of existence called like consciousness or like immaterial stuff that lasts forever?
Because that could lead you to an objective purpose in life. Yes.
So it's more of a utilitarian view. We should believe things because it can make you feel good.
That's what you're here for. No, that's what you're here for. I mean, you're actually here. You're in a simulation because the creator of simulation allowed you to enter. So therefore, you're here to fulfill whatever the creation was created for.
Maybe the purpose, the reason why I'm here on planet Earth is to have coitus with my wife and produce kids.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's part of it.
Well, thanks for coming on, Arturo.
Okay. Thanks.
See ya. I tried. Haven't people floated above their bodies during medical procedures and counted dust bunnies on top shelves or something like that? Seriously? There's been, what I'm aware of, one report often spouted by people like Gary Habermas. But when you investigate it, you'll find that the details are scant. And you won't have as far as I know, evidence of even the sheet that the numbers were written down on. It is, as far as I can tell, hearsay testimony. Like the person who actually died and floated up and saw things. Are you listening right now? Are you alive right now? If you are, come on the show. I would love to interview you. But you guess what? You won't see this. You won't see people, well, at least it's very, very rare, who've had these NDEs and actually been questioned by a skeptic by it and bring in the doctors and everything. You know, it's always in the literature. Idealist and Doug mix as well as oil and water. Oh, yeah. I mean, to me, idealists are like prickly pear cactus. It's sometimes nice to get close enough to see what it is, but if you go too close, you'll get pricked. I mean, they make me irritable. Idealists make me irritable. It's like I'm holding a gun and I'm trying to find the target and there's no target to find. I'd take a fundamentalist, Mormon, Christian, Jew, Muslim way before Arturo. Way before Arturo. At least I know what they got something to point to. With Arturo, it's just like, well, that makes sense to me. I can't think of any other explanation. Is there any fundamentalist out there? Please call in so I can get my sanity back. That's saying something, right? I can meditate myself into out-of-body experiences. I've been able to do it since I was a kid. Hey, my buddy Phil, I would love you to come on and tell me about it. I will claim to you that you have not been outside your body. You just think you are. But we can test this too. If you can meditate yourself into an out-of-body experience, let's try it right now. I have a sticky pad. I have a pen. I'm writing a big number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 digits. This number is. Please start your meditation right now. Have an out-of-body experience. Come here. Through using whereby my IP address. Come look at this number, because you're out of body, right? You don't need your body, and if you're a spirit, you can float pretty fast. What is the average spirit nowadays of speed of spirits? And what do spirits get for gas mileage? Does it run on electric, petrol? Do spirits get like 40 miles to a gallon? I don't know. They must get more than that because they're not carrying any weight. Right? It's intangible. I bet you like they could at least get 100 miles to the gallon. But you know, some minds are heavier than others. My buddy Phil, you willing to test this? I couldn't get it right, so it wasn't real, but definitely I experienced it. I mean, people experience a whole bunch of things. I'm still irritable from the last caller, but I'm supposed to say this. The head office in Wichita made me sign a contract recently. that I was supposed to affirm people's experiences and feelings. I affirm that you had this experience, that it was real to you, and the feelings you had were real. I affirm all this. There, did I fulfill the contract? Yeah. Yeah. On a windy day, the spirit will be bucking the wind the whole way. Like, how does it work? If someone has an out-of-body experience in France, how long does it take them to get to the United States? Is it instant? Any apologists listening right now? Any pastors listening right now? I prefer people call in who have at least 12 credit hours in apologetics. That helps the conversation. I'll even take Frank Turek. Frank Turek has 12 credit hours at least in apologetics. And I tell you, I think because of that, him and I would have a great conversation, right, Frank?
Hey, man! This makes sense!
Yeah, someone asked me where I got that. He was, I think, in Tucson, Arizona, on a live stream, and I clipped it as it was happening. Well, I rewinded a bit and then clipped it. It doesn't exist anymore, I don't think, as far as on that apologetic website. So anytime someone wants that clip and asks me for it, the only way you can get it is to clip it from me. I am not a pastor, but I am a Christian. Okay, Chuck, you can come in. Just click on that link. I'll ask you for the reason for the hope you have. 1 Peter 3:15. I'll be kind, cordial. I will tempt you 3 times so you feel a little bit more like Jesus. I'm kidding. I joke. My dad's a pastor, and I just figured out he has started studying apologetics, which is funny because I've been subscribed to you for about 10 years. Mysterious Monolith, you should teach your dad apologetics and then save him some money. Actually, have him come on my channel. I'll teach him everything he needs to know. Start with hell. If it worked for Ravi Zacharias, it'll work for your dad. Remember what Ravi Zacharias said? If it wasn't for the concept of hell, he wouldn't even be doing this stuff. I paraphrase. I feel desire for relationships is futile and gets me nowhere. It feels like an attempt to fix myself. Meditation is more beneficial than relationships. Do you agree? No. No, I don't agree with that. I think you're on a road to being a serial killer. Go out and make some friends. See the real world. I know it's tough. You're basically saying you'd rather sit in your closet and meditate than go have real relationships. What link? It's on the top of the live stream chat. If you're using your smartphone, you might have to open it up. But here, I'll post it again. So you ready, Chuck? It's going to come. Oh, there's a delay. So you're going to hear it 7 seconds after. So you might have to scroll up. Oh, no, you'll see it right away. Never mind. You'll hear the words 7 seconds later, but... There, click on that, Chuck. Meditation versus socialization. Is that a fair? You're the one who brought up the comparison, or whoever it was. The concept of hell kept me in faith longer than I should have. Yeah, people get scared. It's a great tactic. Chuck, click on that. Or anybody else who can beat Chuck. I love the name Chuck because when you have a stomach flu, you can say, "What's up, Chuck?" Meditate with friends. Yeah, there you go. Solve. Twofer. It's a 2-for-1 deal. Hell's being stuck listening to S.J. Thomason. I can see that. She likes me, though. I think she has a crush on me. But we won't tell her husband. I'm an ordained minister. Want me to call in? Yes, Andy Rose, thank you. Please. I mean, nobody loves me today. There's the link. It's also pinned. Andy Rose. Chuck might beat you, so don't delay. I'm like the second coming of Jesus. If you delay, it might be too late. But when you say you're an ordained minister, oh, come on, Andy Rose. You got my hopes up and then you dash it against the rocks like Jesus did to babies. I should have known. I should have recognized your name. Anybody with the last name Rose is suspicious. Meditation is a nice way to self-medicate, can be addictive. Yes, meditation is basically the same thing prayer does. It makes people feel good. I don't have any need to meditate because I feel good 24/7. I'm like Chuck Norris. Like I don't do push-ups. I push the earth down. No, don't call your dog Rosie. I mean, if you want your dog to be like a defending dog, right? Unless you got like a really tiny dog, which I call like a big rat. But if you have a real dog, like a German Shepherd or a Doberman, you don't call her Rosie. I called my female German Shepherd Karen. Don't mess with Karen. She'll rip you up. No, Chris Hipser, I used to do stuff like that, role play. But nah. They're out there. They're just too shy. They're trying to. There's Christians praying right now, asking for the full armor of God. And once they get it, they'll come on. Someone's praying right now and just putting on their helmet. They're just getting ready. Once the helmet's securely fastened, they'll pick up that shield of faith, sword of the Spirit, and they'll click that link. And don't worry, Theus, I'll leave half my brain tied behind my back just to make it fair. They are scared that you'll be openly contemptuous and drinking a McFlurry when they call in. I have no McFlurries here. I mean, it was one time out of like 1,000 videos. My. For the record, he deserved it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's one video where I got really cantankerous with a caller, disrespectful and rude. It actually ended okay, like no hard feelings. We talked 2-3 times after that. No, 2 times after that, and he said, "Oh, this was a great conversation." So it's like in the big scope of things, it turned out fine. Do you think chimps and dogs are capable of moral evaluation? Great question. Yeah, I do think so. But it depends what you mean by moral, right? Take a poll. Yeah, I'll take a poll. Hey, PineCreek, have you ever lied? Then you're a liar. Oh, I feel bad now. Like, start a poll. I am a atheist, good person. See, I got to make them laugh. That's how you do it. There's the poll. And here's the link, because now I'm covering up the link with the poll. So, are you an atheist or are you a good person? Vote now. Doug, thoughts on political Islam? Bad, 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 bad. Islam, government, theocracy? Bad. Bad, bad. Killing apostates? Bad. Making homosexuality illegal? Bad. Following an old book because a guy says he got the words from God over 23 years in a cave and other places? Bad. Sharia law? Bad. There's probably some good things in Sharia law, just like in most laws, there's some good things. Hi, Doug. Love you. Can I be an atheist and a good person? Only if your name's Peter. Because if you're an atheist and your name's Peter, you borrowed from the Christian worldview. That's just obvious. So then you can be a good person. But my name is Doug. It's Scottish for being black and murky water. I am the epitome of the devil by my name. But if you're an atheist, your name's David, Peter, Solomon, James. You're all good. You're good people. If your name's Jesus, I mean, you're the best. If you're an atheist named Jesus, I mean, you're golden. Okay, so we got 330. We got close to 40, maybe even 50 theists listening right now, and probably 10 of you I don't want to talk to because I've talked to you like 10 times each. So there's at least 30 to 40 theists in here right now I've never talked to, and you like me. Admit it. You like me, and you're just a little nervous. I will be kind, caring, compassionate. Go ahead, call in. Is Christianity accelerating its downfall? No, I think the Enlightenment, the internet is accelerating the downfall of both Islam and Christianity in the Western world. When people are desperate, or there's rules that says if you leave, we're going to kill you, then it hangs on, right? Do you think taboo words, cuss words, are secular social blasphemy laws? Oh, yeah, I do. I know exactly what you mean by that. That you can't say certain words, and if you do, you're a bad person. That's a little bit like blasphemy. We'll excommunicate you if you do it, and if you don't do it, and you shake your fist for people who do, then you're a good person. But that's bordering on politics, so I should shut up. Yeah, hey Japtheth, you can call in because I want to ask you a question. I know you've been on my show many times before. But you're constantly changing. You're like a willow tree. You bend in the wind, right? Because I remember last time you said, "I'm no longer this. I'm no longer that." Are you still a power-hungry theist? Do you think in 100 years we'll look back on how we treat animals like slavery and us? No. Not at all. But you're getting into politics again. Hey, Japtheth.
Hello.
So what have you changed in your theistic views in the past month or so?
Nothing. I think more or less I've stabilized. I think a lot of I've harmonized a lot of scripture. I mean, you can ask. I have a topic, but you ask first.
Well, that was my question, just to see if you've changed. So since we last talked, you haven't changed much?
No.
Okay, what's your question for me?
So the topic is you keep on mentioning God as being needy. I think you should grant is not that line of attack. I think is one-sided. I think if you are open-minded, fair-minded, I don't think that's
I've never. No. I've have not said that God's needy. Okay, number one, I don't believe any gods exist. But number two, when I ask them why did God create, and they say, well, I think the previous caller Arturo said that he needs to do something, and then I said, oh, so God's needy.
Okay. The way I see it is God is a conscious being, and by a conscious being by nature interacts. I think the alternative is a non-living conscious.
He does
being,
interact. He does.
Yeah.
Well, you're not a Trinitarian, right? Or are you?
I'm not a Trinitarian, correct?
Okay. So you're saying that he, as a conscious being, he wants to interact.
By nature, yes. So there is nothing subjectively bad, or the way you portray is, I think, as if there is a superior alternative, because this kind of thing is very subjective. And if you are fair-minded, I don't think this is an argument you should use. I think I've seen some good arguments you use, but I don't think this is.
I still think it's a great one. You know why? Because you can do the two worlds hypothesis. A world, like, you believe there was a time when creation didn't exist, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Yeah.
I'm an open theist, but yes.
So you're basically saying the world of creation is better than the world of God alone. Because now he can interact as a conscious being.
I think his nature somewhat makes him do that. I mean, that is his desire.
Right. He has desires, wants, and a world that he created is better than the world that with just him alone.
Isn't that what we conscious beings do? We interact for our greater.
Well, yeah, but you and I are needy.
I mean, what's the alternative?
The alternative is your God doesn't exist.
Okay. But let's grant the theist here. Suppose a creator God exists. Then what's the alternative? Why is it so bad that he creates creation and humans? I mean, let's grant the argument for now. I mean, you keep on saying that this creator God is, I mean, this bad.
Okay, I'm shocked that you don't know the answer to that question or what the issue is. The real problem of evil is this, when it applies to the Christian God. This God hates sin, does not want sin, doesn't want anyone to perish. This is all scriptural in the Bible, right? Yet he desires to create a world with 100% certainty. Now, this is where people can have wiggle room. What will happen, and that it will lead to things he hates. So he wants to create, does not want the consequences of his creation. That's a contradiction. Want, not want.
Okay, I have a better perspective of this issue than a lot of theists because I think they are not unable to.
I know what you're going to say. You're going to say that God doesn't know the future, right?
Wait. Not that.
Okay.
So I see creation. If I can think of a better example in the future, I'll come. But for now, I think this is an example. But it's not perfect. So creation is some sort of a video game for God. So a video game creator can create.
You're like the other color. Don't tell me this.
No. Listen, 1 minute. So you can create a game where you can feel frustrated in the process of the game. You create a game of chess, but in the middle you're creating the rules so you yourself can get frustrated. I don't see this is arbitrary. I mean, what's the matter?
So you're saying God created because he wanted to be frustrated?
I mean, in a video game, that there are challenges. If I create a video game, there are challenges. There is win and there is loss. I mean,
but you know how you're making the God you worship and serve, the creator God of the universe, you're making him sound just like you and me. And by the way, that's how you get out of the problem of evil. You lower God to a human. You become an open theist. You say that he can't see the future because the future doesn't exist.
He's all powerful. He's all powerful.
Okay, if he's all powerful, then he has no desires to overcome problems in a video game or problems with creation. It's like
God has the cheat code. God sometimes override human free will. God has the cheat codes.
Yeah.
I'm not making this up. Hold on. I swear, I'm not making things up as I go.
I understand exactly where you're coming from, but the way you're coming from this from the point of view that, oh, we exist, so therefore God exists. I'm coming from it from the angle that if we ask the question, does your God exist or not? And we now imagine this world of God alone and a world of God plus stuff he hates. He hates it when someone's raped. He hates it when someone rejects him and goes to hell. He does not like these things. He does not want these things. He does not want not an ounce of sin. And if you just say...
that creates evil. I mean, there are some... Deuteronomy, I think... 28, God himself, if Israel disobeys God himself will send rapists to Israel. I mean,
right. So now you have to give up. You have to give up the concept of God being all good. Then I think.
Yes, I mean,
yes?
correction. No. When I say good, I see the way good because it's the classical theist view of good is some sort of God himself is locked by a rule that he himself does not create. If I see God as good, meaning that complying with the desires of God. Right, so it can be arbitrary.
I know, and this gets into morality, but then now you're left with whatever God says, does, wills, decrees is good by definition, and you're left with not being able to identify good from evil unless you know whether or not God has sanctioned it. Like if a man rapes a woman, you cannot say that that's bad. Because God might have sanctioned it, like you just said with the Israelites who sinned against them and then they sent rapists in. God sent rapists in, you just told me.
I mean, like the act of killing itself is, you have to look at the context. If a murderer kills, that's bad. But if the government executes a person to enforce the law, that's a different thing. So, I mean, it has to be in context. So I see God's
right,
law.
I know what you're saying. But when you see a murder happen on the street, you don't have the full information, and it might not be a murder. It might In fact, if everything,
a hit job by CIA. It might be
yeah,
true,
yeah, it could be, but it also could be that all the evidence points that it's a murder, but except for God actually willed it to happen. Not only willed it, caused it to happen. Then from your worldview, you would have to say that was not a murder. That was a just killing. Right?
I mean, I judge from whatever information that I see, but ultimately, I am not in the role of rule. I'm not the boss of the universe, God.
Right.
So
Since
I
you
mean,
don't know the mind of God, at least all the time,
but
you can't
at least
identify
I
what's
know
moral and what's
a
not.
pretty good deal of what his system is from the Bible.
Oh, really?
Not everything, but I mean,
Yeah.
I know how. Yeah,
God commands
it's
the
like
killing
you
of
know how the
women,
United
children,
States government works.
animals.
Huh?
God slaughtered the whole world through drowning, except for one family. I mean, you have a good idea of how God operates. God kills
Yeah, I
Ananias
mean,
and Sapphira for cheating on their tithes.
they are boasting. I mean, Ananias and Sapphira they want to boast, but yeah, I mean, God has prideful people. It's from the all in the New Testament. It's all.
So you have to give up.
So,
In order to get rid of the problem of evil, my advice to Christians is don't say God's all good, don't say God's all knowing, and don't say God's all powerful. If you basically take all the omnis away and say God is basically a very powerful, sometimes good, sometimes evil mastermind, and he created maybe predicting but not really knowing what would happen, and just is being amused
but
as it
God sometimes
unfolds.
control the events. I mean, as an open theist, God sometimes control the events, but not all the time.
Like that God I just described is way more believable than the God of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.
My view.
No, not your
What do you
view.
mean?
The view I just said. A God that's not all good, not all powerful, and not all knowing. That God is more believable. A God that is sometimes good. Oh, I'll help this little lady. Oh, no, I'm going to strike that guy dead and laugh. I mean, that type of God, oh, I have no clue what's going to happen. Oh, no, I can't stop that because I'm not powerful enough. That God's more believable.
But it's not my view, right? Okay, this is a different.
Right. And I'm saying because you don't have that view, you have problems.
Why? What problem?
Because you still believe God's all good, right? And you believe
Okay.
God's all powerful, right?
Good in the sense that what pleased him. So my definition of God is more arbitrary than other Christian. But go ahead.
Okay. Does God want some women to be raped?
This is a bad analogy, but it is like a bad parents wants to punish a person that it doesn't it's not happy to do it, but he has no choice but to punish.
If God could prevent a woman from being raped, would he?
If that God is protecting that person would not be raped.
Right. How often do you think that happens, that God protects women from being raped? More than 50%?
Right now,
less than 50% of the time?
In the United States or the place that I live, the crime rate is very, very low. It's like the chance of
Okay.
eating.
Let me rephrase the question. Do some women in the world get raped?
Oh, yes.
Could God have stopped it?
Yes.
So if a rape happened and God could have stopped it, that means he didn't stop it.
Yes, he did. I mean, he didn't choose. He chose not to stop it.
Okay. Do you think God could have predicted before he made the universe that women would be raped?
I think by giving when Adam disobeyed God, God is giving mankind a view of what happened when man disobeys God.
It's a great answer, not to the question I'm asking. My question is, do you think God would have predicted that women would be raped if he created the universe?
Yes, the possibilities are there.
Yeah, not only possibilities, do you think he would have predicted that it's probable, like it's most likely going to happen if I create? Do you think he would have said something like that?
It's not 100%. If Adam and Eve didn't sin, then we wouldn't have this problem.
Would he have predicted that Adam and Eve would have sinned?
Yeah, it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
So your God is morally culpable. He's not all good. Because on his definition of good, he's not good. On your definition of good, he's not good. You have a contradiction. This is the real problem of evil. He does not want women to be raped. He created a world where he knew women would be raped, or predicted, because I know you're an open theist. That's a problem. Now your choices now are to say, well, but heaven, but Jesus, a greater good type argument. Or you can say that he couldn't have stopped it, but you don't go there.
It's a lesson for all of us when we enter paradise not to disobey God like Adam and Eve. That is how I see it.
So I would say a world with God, your God alone, is better than the world that he created and him. Because and my standard of better is your worldview definition of good and bad. This God's moral standards emanating from his nature, it would have been better for God, based on his own standards, never to have created anything, not the angels, not humans, not anything, and just be by himself
and a conscious
for
being not
all
interact.
eternity.
So a conscious being by nature interacts. I don't see what is so negative about
He
that.
could have created a dog, one dog. He could have called it Adolf and been happy.
It's not as fun. I mean,
Not as fun.
let's be
Dogs are-
open-minded here.
He's all powerful. He could create a dog that could talk, do all sorts of type of tricks. Golf, a golfing dog.
The ability to interact and have the outcome not generated by you, I think it's quite different than where you just interact with.
God could have created puzzles. He could have created his own Sudokus or those word puzzles. He's all powerful. He could create video games that he would never get bored of.
But if you apply this rule to yourself, you stay in an
Category
island by
error.
yourself. Will you do it?
I'm not God. Category error. I'm not God. You can't compare
No,
humans to God.
conscious being. The point I'm saying is God is a conscious being.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to grant this to theists. I don't.
I'm granted to. That doesn't solve the problem of evil. Unless you're basically saying, since God's a conscious being, he has to interact. I mean, he just cries if he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't see the alternative as a non-living object. So but since the foundation of reality is a thinking being, that is how it is.
You're coming from this is how it is. We exist, so therefore God. No, here's what you should do with this. You should say, yeah, Doug, I see your point. I see that a world with God alone is better than a world where he could have predicted and stopped it by just not creating in the first place. And so it is more likely then, Doug, that this God doesn't exist. The sheer fact that we exist in the state we're in is evidence against this particular God. In fact, I should make T-shirts that say, there's a tree, therefore God. No, there's a tree, therefore no God.
I mean, the God of the Bible, I think, portrays reality quite. I mean, the reality that we live in. I mean,
that's because men looked around at the world around them and wrote about it. It reflects the reality they were in. That's why I don't knock Christians who talk about slavery in the Old Testament. I mean, everybody believed that slavery was okay in the Old Testament. If we lived there, it would have been okay. Like, they were just talking about the reality they were in. This is why the God of the Bible didn't say don't have slaves, because he doesn't exist.
I think the problem with slavery is a lot of people are missing the sociology, historical context. Okay, before I become a theist, I read a lot of books about history. Okay, so in the future, let's say 100 years from now, all of our electricity are powered by the solar panel and wind. Right? There are no more coal mine workers. People 100 years. If somebody 100 years from now were to complain, why do we have coal mine workers now? I mean, it's the structure of the economy is just not there. I mean,
Yeah.
the alternative.
Are you saying this as an analogy to slavery?
Sorry.
Are you saying this as an analogy to slavery? Or why are you telling me this?
I think the criticism is not it's not capturing the context of how human has evolved and what the economy back then.
Yeah, I agree with
operates.
you. But this has nothing to do with a God, and it's probably evidence against this God that this God exists. If this God, let's say, hates slavery, truly hates slavery, you should not own people's property. He could have just said that and said, "Oh, I gotta gently nudge society into this direction." He didn't do that with other things like murder. In fact, well, he commanded.
I didn't claim that God hates slavery. I mean, who made that claim?
Oh, okay, good question. I would ask a Christian, "Do you think God hates slavery?" Some Christians will say yes, some will say no. You're right.
I mean, it's a regulated employment. Slavery without abuse is okay.
But the slavery of owning people as property for their whole life. Do you think God is thumbs up, thumbs down?
If you work for the same company for 70 years, does that company own you?
No, because you could freely walk away and retire or quit.
But suppose you have no other. You have one specific skill, and that is the only.
You still have a choice. You could still say, "I'm really willing to risk starvation."
That slave can run away from the master too. In the Bible, they are not chained to.
Well, no. Let's say there's a fence and they can't leave. And even if they do escape, they'll go back to their slave. When they get caught, they go back.
There is no such thing. I think I read history a lot, and
you notice you didn't answer my question. Is God okay with owning people?
Regulated slavery without abuse. He is not opposed to it, at least in the Old Testament.
He's not opposed to owning people as property as long as they're not abused.
Yes.
Okay. So you are that type of Christian who would say that God's okay with good slavery, but it's still owning people as property.
I mean,
That's
this is about definition, right?
Oxymoron.
If you work for the same company for 70 years, many people, in Japan, people don't really change jobs. You work for the same company. Does that company own you? I mean, what is, there are sociology, context here.
Okay, well, let me ask you, would you rather work for Apple or Microsoft for 70 years in the United States, or would you rather be a slave 3,000 years ago for Israel?
Joseph as a slave can become the prime minister of Egypt. The promotion.
You're no Joseph, Japtheth. That was hilarious. I know Joseph, and Japtheth, you're no Joseph.
I'm just saying, the promotion opportunity is there in the Bible. So I mean,
promotion. I'm just imagining two slaves huddling in the mud. I mean, I'm bound to get that promotion next week. I mean, it's coming. I can feel it.
I mean, if you remember Genesis, Joseph was slave was sold without his will, and he rose to become the head of Potiphar's household. There is promotion over there. I mean, is that slave is not the? I think the idea of the African that went to the North America, they were chained. I don't think that is how it is in the Bible. I mean, you should be more open-minded. There are my purpose of calling here is to give certain things in the Christian Bible the benefit of the doubt. I know you. I would not. I know you will still continue to be an atheist, but I want your arguments to be more fair.
What have I said that's unfair? I've actually even given outs to the Christian. I'm trying to help them. Here's how, with the problem of evil, how to get around it. Like I'm being as gracious as I can be.
Okay, there is one solution that you have never not open-minded enough to. So what if morality ultimately is arbitrary? Can you accept that? I mean, if God exists and morality is arbitrary, so what?
So what? What are you exactly asking me?
Suppose God exists and morality is arbitrary. I mean, so what?
So what? Yeah, right. So what?
Yeah. So I mean, so I don't. You seeing this problem of evil as somehow disprove the Christian God? Why?
Hang on, my dog is barking at a Mormon trying to get in. Hang on. I shouldn't pick on the Mormons. It was just a Jehovah's Witness. Now you want to talk about morality? Is that it?
Yeah, I mean, you think this problem of evil, why God create?
I'm using
somehow
the-
disprove God.
I'm
Why?
using morality, the definition of morality, from your God, from within your worldview. This own God does not want sin. In the Islam version is this God, Allah, does not want disbelief, yet he creates a universe, a world where he knows, and the Muslims will say, will know with 100% certainty that this God, that these people will freely choose to disbelieve. He wants no disbelievers, but he yet creates a world where there's disbelievers.
Okay, keep an
Oh,
open
and
minded.
then he says, Allah says that, oh, but by the way, I do like when people sin because then I can forgive them.
No, I think the Bible doesn't say that. Or
No,
even
I
the
said
Quran
that the Quran said that. If I said Bible, I misspoke.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, you want to see? Okay, at least the Bible doesn't say that. I haven't, about that, but about Quran. So keep an open mind here, and so if this creation is a game for God, does that all the problem disappears?
No, it doesn't.
Why?
Because
So
how many times have I said it? Because you have a contradiction within the game. So let's
the video game creator can purposely create those challenges himself.
So
right?
Japtheth, let's say you're a video game creator,
Yes.
but you hate the color green on characters. Okay? So you want to create a video game, but you hate the color green. And then you end up making a video game that the whole setting is in a green rainforest with people wearing nothing but green clothes. Maybe there's a few other colors, and you're like, I hate green, but I created a game with green. I hate sin, yet I created a world with sin. I hate rape, yet I created a world with rape. I hate people going to hell because I don't want to see anybody perish, but yet I created a world where people will go to hell and perish. This is the contradiction. Can I get an amen? Looking up to the left.
So it's in a sense, I think God wants human to use our self agency to voluntarily obey Him, and
the free will of humans has nothing to do with this because your God created, either knowing or predicting, that people will freely choose to reject Him and sin and rape and all these things.
But I do not totally agree with say God totally had sin. Okay, if I define sin in the Bible, I think First John that says transgression of the divine law is sin, right? So this basically disobeying God is sin. However, in the Exodus, on the sixth plague.
Why are we talking about the definition of sin? I mean, this God either he has things that he wants and doesn't want. There's the contradiction.
So if I
address
define
that.
sin as disobeying God, I define sin as disobeying God.
So what?
Okay.
This has nothing to do with people's free will. This is about God creating a world where he knew what he doesn't want ends up happening. He wants to create, yet he doesn't want what happens when he does create. This is a contradiction. Want, not want.
I don't know, man. if you see movie and you play video games more, there are if you watch Avengers, you do not want the character to lose in a fight, right? But sometimes those kind of moments where the character lose in a fight, it makes the entire experience greater as a whole.
Oh, makes the entire experience greater. See, you have to make your God, the creator of the universe, more like us in order to get it to fit. I agree. This is a note for you. You have to say, God was bored. He needed entertainment, so he created.
I have no problem with using that.
But then he's not all powerful. A God that
Why
has
not?
a God that has needs, a God that has boredom, a God that is like, my world would be better if I created X, is not all powerful to start with. He's not all self-sufficient to start with.
Okay. All powerful and all self-sufficient. Can you separate the two now? When I say all powerful, it means whatever God forces the outcome to happen, the outcome will happen. That is how I define all
Okay,
powerful. As long
I'll
as
grant you
use
that
it-
there's a
yes.
difference between all powerful and self-sufficient, but to me, there's definitely similarities. Like if someone's self-sufficient with lacking nothing, I mean, you don't need to create. There's nothing in you that says, "Oh, I'm just bored." I mean, I need to communicate. I need to demonstrate. I need to express. No, you're God, powerful. And then, oh, I'm going to create things that will lead to exactly what I don't want, at least partially.
There are certain moments that things that God doesn't want, but those certain moments still contribute to God's greater.
Yeah, and this is the greater good argument. So here's the outs again, I'll give it to you. In order to solve the real problem of evil, you have to be an open theist and you have to be a universalist, and that gets you maybe 50% of the way there. But you're still stuck with the pain
I'm
and
not a
suffering.
universalist, but go ahead.
Yeah, but then you're still stuck with the pain and suffering here on planet Earth. You still are stuck with questions like, why didn't God create conscious beings and just stick them straight into heaven? And don't create conscious beings that he knew would not accept him, and you're done. And you can still have free will, because in heaven there's free will, people have told me. So God could have easily created a world that is much better than this one, that wouldn't contradict his nature, and yeah, he's done.
For example, if you watch Avengers and there are certain moments in the film where the one character die, it's still what creates the entire movie experience.
Right.
I don't see.
But who's the experience for, God or us?
For God and humans.
For both.
For the conscious being, God, angels, and humans.
Yeah, you're viewing God as a guy sitting on a couch with a bag of popcorn. He's like, oh, see what I did there? Yeah, I allowed that. Oh, that I caused. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, what is she going to do now? I wonder, but I already know, but I wonder. Like, this is ridiculous. God's not sitting on a couch eating popcorn, watching the world
We
play
told
out
you
like a
that-
movie. Is he?
If I have, from what I read about the Bible, and there is very few things that I disagree with God now, except how
Surprise,
how he deals with
surprise. That's because God's in your head.
No. Of how God deals with from Genesis to Revelation. I agree mostly with what he did. I can easily understand if somebody in God's position would do the same thing as he does. I mean, a conscious being with all-powerful ability would have done the same thing as he does. You have to grant it that it is possible.
No.
No. What?
If I were the creator of the universe, I mean, if I was like your God, I would have never created.
All powerful, a conscious being with all power.
Yeah.
All power.
I would not have created. You know why? Because I don't need rapes. I don't even need flowers. I don't need happy smiles from kids. And I don't need murders. I don't need people coming to heaven. I don't need people going to hell. I don't need anything. You know why? Because I am God. Say my name. PineCreek. Like, that's the way I'd be.
You'll be talking to yourself for trillions of years.
Oh, and you think I'm lonely, do you? I am God. Say my name. I am powerful. You think I'm lonely talking to myself? I tell you, I'm the best listener in the world, in the universe, because I am God. I'm the best communicator in the universe. I can communicate with myself.
Can you do that for 1 month? without interacting anybody.
I am God. I can do this for eternity. I don't need to talk to you or anybody. I can talk to myself. In fact, have you ever seen my art?
commonality is
I'm a
conscious
great
being,
painter.
but
I can create
I don't believe
beautiful
a conscious
colors.
being by nature do that. I don't believe a conscious being by nature do that.
Oh,
So,
who are you to question me, God? You in your finite thinking have this view, oh, what a conscious being would or would not do. You don't know me. I am God. You're just, where were you?
Okay,
You're just,
that's your choice. All right, but that's not how God presents himself in the Bible.
the Bible. You think I have anything to do with the Bible? Me, God? The Bible has nothing to do with me. These are creations invented by men to help explain the world around them. But I am the one true God. Anybody who believes in these religions deserve hell. But I didn't create hell because in fact, I didn't create any of this because I don't exist. There is no God.
One more point that I need to address, okay? And there is one point that I think you keep a number of times you and occasional other atheists use it, and I think it's very irrational. That is, so suppose God exists, and those who choose to believe the Bible go to hell. I mean, it doesn't make sense because
What?
think about the implication.
Tell that to a Muslim where a Christian says Jesus is God. They'll say they deserve hell more than anybody else.
For the sake of argument, let's grant it is the God of Abraham. So let's say Christian Muslim neutral. Christian Muslim neutral is the God of Abraham. Okay.
Right.
And
Christians who say Jesus is God are committing the worst sin ever. The creed of Islam is there is only one God and Muhammad is his prophet. Jesus, they say, is a prophet, but any Christian who worships and obeys Jesus as God should burn and burn and burn and burn. They are worse than atheists. They're worse than Hindus. They're the worst possible human beings on the planet because they worship a man as God and they claim a God can die on a cross. How stupid is that? A deity dying? Oh, did he go from a trinity to a deity? Muslims have a great point here.
okay, the specific point that you said was so those who believe in the, I think you said Christian God and Muslim God are going to hell. So if the God of Abraham exists, it has to be the Christian way or Muslim way or both. And
what about the Jews? What about Judaism? They're the chosen people. You're saying if the Abrahamic God exists, it has to be Christianity or Muslim. You just skip over Judaism?
well, because both Christian and Muslim at least believe Jesus is the Christ. So Jews
wait a
are
minute.
out.
You're so biased in your thinking. Couldn't Judaism be true and Christianity and Islam both be false?
I mean,
Can we get Tovia Singer in here to give me an amen?
the powerful people. I mean, our world today. So the planet is made up of Christian and Muslim as the majority.
Oh, your popularity. There's more Muslims, there's more Christians. Therefore, we just throw Judaism under the rug. Where's your empathy for the Jews? They were the ones who started this mess. They should take the credit.
I believe the Jews are going to believe Jesus eventually. So I'm not.
Oh, you know what the Jews are going to do. Okay. They're going to accept Jesus.
I'm not saying they're out of the.
What if a Jew? What if an Orthodox Jew would say the Christians will eventually find out that Jesus isn't God? I mean,
at least they will believe Jesus is the Messiah. I mean, I'm
no,
not
they don't. At least not Messianic Jews, but Orthodox Jews do not believe Jesus is Messiah. Do not believe he's God. Do not believe he's the Son of God. Do not believe he's the God that will come down and set up the kingdom. They think you've been hoodwinked. They think you've been deceived, Japtheth. Because you've gone to church and you have these needs. They feel sorry for you and sorry.
Anyway, so basically, so yeah, I was saying if the God of Abraham exists, and it's the true Creator God, it has to be Christian or Muslim or both, or
Judaism.
I believe God is still going to save the Jews. I believe God is still going to save the Jews on the condition that they believe Jesus is the Messiah. I still believe God is going to still save the Jews.
So what you're saying is, if the God of the Judaic tribe, the Israelites, if the God of Abraham is true and exists, then Christianity and Islam is more likely to be true. Am I hearing you
And
right?
yeah, and believing
What about
in
Mormonism?
either of the holy book, believing in either of the holy book, that doesn't make you go to hell. I mean, because you are saying there is a true creator God who engineered the creation of Christianity and Islam to deceive the world. I mean, that is very irrational.
It's
And
very rational
I
or irrational?
you are saying that that is irrational if the true creator God engineered
Jeff,
false
let's be honest
religion.
with each other. Humans make up stories, right? All the time.
Yes.
Yeah, humans make up stories. It happens so frequently. People have imaginations. They come up with screenplays for movies. They write stories. They write books. They write fiction. What's more likely to you? That this particular God exists and that the stories in the Old Testament and the New Testament and the Quran are mostly true, or that people write up stories to reflect their cultures, the way they see the world, their way to explain the world. What's more likely to you?
I believe the Bible is inerrant. You are not the person that you would like to talk to. Anyway, so you cannot use that argument of saying those who believe in the God of Abraham will go to hell. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's like it's like saying the government create the laws, but the laws are actually to reward criminals. I mean, yeah.
The government creates
You're saying
laws.
those who you say that okay. I remember now. You say those who reject theism. If you say if the true creator God exists, then those who reject theism are the atheists are the one who are going to heaven. You mentioned this before. Do you remember?
Yeah. I thought that was pretty
Well,
clever.
that's an irrational.
Well, but you know why I say that though, right? I don't believe that. I don't believe any gods exist, but I do think it is more likely that if there is a creator God and that it's so obvious that the religions of the world are people trying to explain reality, trying to explain what they see, and they come up with these stories. And so I'm envisioning if there is a creator God, he probably isn't all powerful, all knowing, all these things. He probably is just powerful enough to create the universe, start the Big Bang, whatever. And then he sits back and he says, how ridiculous are these Homo sapiens? I mean, they actually think I have something to do with the Bible. They actually think I have something to do with the Quran. They actually think that one of these religions is true. You know what? I'm going to reward those atheists for being smart enough, for not being gullible, for not being duped. I'm going to reward them. I'm going to give them free coupons to the Outback Steakhouse when they die. And these religious people, you know what? I'm going to make them go to hell. I'm going to make them go to some like dusty small town in America fair for the rest of their life where they have to ride the same Ferris wheel over and over again. I mean, this will get them.
But hold on. If the creator God is not all powerful, there is no need to worship him.
Yeah, this God doesn't want to be worshipped.
But in your scenario, he has the power to send people who are already dead to some.
Yeah, he's powerful enough. He's not all powerful, but he can do that. Yeah, he has buses. He can bus them to a fair. Let's see, Dalton, Texas is where the fair is going to be. Dalton, Texas. Have you ever been there? It's a terrible place. It has a 1 Super 8. That's where everybody will sleep.
So it's like saying the government create the laws, but the laws are the genuine intention is actually to reward criminals. I mean, come on, I think that doesn't.
I don't understand what you're saying there. Government creates laws and it's just for the criminals. Is that what you said?
No. When government create laws is to punish criminal, right? In the scenario you presented, if the true creator God exists and he punished the thieves instead, is like the analogy of the government.
No.
Laws.
Think of it this way. Think of it as a classroom of students, and you're given a riddle or a problem to solve, and 95% of the kids, like there's tricks, there's things they have to try to solve. 95% of the kids don't get it. And the teacher God, rewards the 5% who see right through the riddle and say the answer is none of the above. Whereas the 95%, oh no, it has to be this. Oh no, it has to be this. That's the analogy I'm making. So God, if there is a God, he'll reward the people who said on planet Earth, all religions are false, none of the above.
Think about what you're saying, okay? God has done many moves in the Bible that indicate how he is displeased when people disobey him. He has flooded the entire planet even.
Yeah.
What more God could have done to show that you
Evidence
have to
against
believe,
that God, yeah.
Like, what you mean evidence against?
Yeah.
I mean, all of your arguments that you have
Think
are
about it.
mostly
Jeff, think about
founded
it.
in the last 100 years only, but go ahead.
Think about it. This God your God creates this world knowing or predicting that these people will disappoint him. So he kills them all with this movie setting of a flood. I mean, it's great for the year 2023 where we can make these big production films of the earth being drowned with water and people clamoring, knocking on the ark. I mean, doesn't this sound like a story to you?
Why 90% of all civilization have this myth? We could have volcano myth. We could have a meteor strike myth. Why flood?
If 95% of the people thought that the earth was flat, would it mean the earth is flat? No.
I mean, how do you have the alternative? You have to believe some kind of conspiracy 3,000 years ago where everyone.
Well, actually, conspiracy would explain it too. But another explanation is
how are they before email, before telephone?
Most religions are started with 1, 2, maybe a small group of under 5 people.
So how do people?
And then it builds.
People 2,000 years ago in China can communicate people in Greece.
Oh,
how do?
I don't believe you.
What do you mean?
I don't believe. I know what you're talking about because we talked about this earlier. You think that the Chinese are talking about the same 3 hour of darkness that happened at Jesus?
No, it's a different thing. The 3 hour is 2,000 years ago. 3,000 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, so
to me, you sound like a Muslim who says there's a guy in India who saw the moon split in two, so therefore the Quran is right. Like, I mean, if you really want Japtheth to convince me your God is real,
I no, not that fire trick. Hold on. Oh.
It's not a trick. It's the demonstration of the power of God. That speaks way more volumes than us just talking and jibber jabbering. Let's stop the talking and let's see some action, Japtheth. Let's take this Kleenex. You want to pray right now?
Okay, okay. You are changing topic. I'm just saying, how can 90% of the civilization on the planet believe in a global flood? Correction, it's not a global. It's some kind of a massive flood. They all agree.
I believe in massive floods, Japtheth. But I don't believe in a global flood. Was there a massive flood in the Middle Eastern area 4,000 years ago? Maybe. That's no evidence of God.
It's not the civilization that it's not only in the Middle East that record this. I mean,
it's no evidence of God, a big flood. A global flood, maybe. I don't even know where, because it would take a miracle to make enough H2O molecules in the liquid form under standard atmospheric pressure or whatever pressure you need. And then where did all those trillions and trillions and trillions of H2O molecules go? Like, you ask questions like this to Christians and they'll come up with fanciful answers like, oh, it's still here. It's in the middle of the earth. Or, I mean.
Do you know that mankind has only drilled at most a few kilometers?
Are you one of those people who say, oh, the water's in the middle of the earth?
We have. How can you close that possibility? I'm not making that positive claim, okay? I do believe it, but that's not my point. So
wait,
we know very little what is beneath our Earth, because I think the maximum that we have drilled is only a few kilometers deep down on Earth, and our Earth has the diameter of 40,000 kilometers. It doesn't even, it touches 0.01%.
If I were a Christian, the best way you should answer these questions, just say, it's a miracle, Doug. And God produced the H2O molecules out of nothing and they disappeared.
God could have done that.
Say that.
I mean, yeah. Okay. I mean, I have two ways. Sure. Thank you.
But there's no good reason to think that it actually happened. Just because a book says so? And then you got interpretations of the book. There's many Christians who don't believe in a global flood. In fact, I dare say, well, I was going to say the majority, but now I don't know about that.
I saw a statistic that says 40% of Americans believe in a young Earth. So I think that's quite a lot.
No,
actually.
40% of, I think it's 30 to 40% of Christians believe in a young Earth in the United States. So you have to take 30 to 40% of the 65%. So let's say 25.
That's almost,
yeah, it's still a quarter.
So they still have. Oh, okay, the one 40% is all Americans. 40%. So 65% of Americans are Christian. If 40% of Americans believe in a young Earth, so it's 40 out of 65. But whatever. I mean, sure. Let's grant it. I mean, I can use your number. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. You shouldn't believe things just because an old book says so.
Last point. So I think I've only asked you this question one time, or maybe that you forgot. But suppose God revealed Himself like in a burning bush, like the way He did to Moses, but He won't reveal it to others in a direct way. You'll be stuck. This is still for YouTube to see. I don't think you can convince people like you. If you meet another PineCreek and God showed Himself to you, you will not convince that another PineCreek. There is no way. If God only reveals Himself,
okay,
in a spectacular way.
If I know exactly what you're saying. There's a lot of stubborn atheists listening right now, but I guarantee you, I'll make this claim that if I grab these, and let's say they're naturalists, not all atheists are naturalists. Let's say if I pick all the naturalist atheists listening right now, and you and I take their hands, we sing Kumbaya as we walk to the cemetery of people they've known and loved who have been dead for years, and you pray in the name of Jesus that they'll come bubbling through the soil, and it happens right after you finish your prayer in Jesus' name. I tell you, I will make the claim that every atheist in here who sees that with their own eyes and is verified by other people around watching it, these people who have been dead for years are walking on the streets. We have death records, death certificates. We have video of them being dead. We got several doctors, whatever. And now we have the evidence that they're alive because in the name of Jesus, you said, in the name of Jesus, rise from the grave. Their whole worldview of naturalism will be in doubt. They'll question it. They'll be shocked. They won't know what to do. They might not become Christians right away. I'll grant you that. But I guarantee you that their worldview will be shattered, as it will mine. That's all this God has to do.
Point. So a different point that I made earlier is, even if God were to reveal Himself to you, if you meet another PineCreek, and if God doesn't reveal Himself to him, you won't be able to convince him. So hang on.
If we do this, we raise people from the dead, and
this is a public demonstration. I mean, I'm just
right.
So
if only one person becomes a Christian because of it and is saved because of it, isn't it worth it?
So this is a question about public, why God doesn't do public demonstration, right? So. You're asking me why
wouldn't God do it if one person comes to Christ because of it? Isn't God the shepherd who goes find the one that's gone astray? Isn't God that type of shepherd who will leave the other flock behind to find the one that's gone astray?
Even that parable, right? In the Bible, at the last verse of Psalm 119, David calls himself as a lost sheep, right? That when God as the shepherd find a lost sheep only means believers. A lost sheep, it means a believer who stumbled.
Why are you talking about this right now? God cares about individuals, right?
You're talking about that parable, right? That parable doesn't apply to unbelievers. It's only to believers who stumble.
Okay.
Yeah, because David in the last verse of...
So God doesn't care about the unbelievers, what you're saying.
You have to pass the test to become a believer. Then God...
What's the test?
I mean, God has a general care for the world, but there's specific care for the believer.
Didn't people become Christians because Jesus rose from the dead? In the New Testament. didn't Thomas himself doubt it? And then he saw Jesus' body in front of him. He stuck his fingers in the hole.
Oh, Thomas passed the first test already by following Jesus, right?
No,
for 3.5
after
years.
Jesus, people who didn't follow Christ, okay,
Thomas was is one
but
of
then
the
saw
12.
him crucified. Do you not think people became Christians because they saw a man crucified, dead, and then rose again? Isn't that a miracle, a demonstration of his power, of who he is? And didn't people convert because of it?
Maybe other people, not Thomas. Thomas
Okay,
was already one of the 12.
other people. Great. I am asking for the same thing.
So
The pain on your face, I love.
wait. I'm trying to be fair to both sides here. So the Israelites.
We got to wrap this up.
so
We
the-
got. I want to take one more caller, but we've been talking for about close to an hour, I bet.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's been fun, but yeah, I mean, the kind of people who does not require a miracle to believe is the one that they will stay. I mean, there are miracles. You have to believe the Bible of the previous miracles already.
I'm giving you what it would take for me to change my mind, and if that's not good enough for God, then I'll go to hell and I'll take my punishment like a man. That's that.
Anyway, my entire purpose to call is just to be so that hopefully so that's something that I believe is not a fair argument, but about the conscious being thing. But anyway, I've achieved my objective already. At least you hear my position.
Yeah. Okay. Have a great day.
Thank you.
See ya. Yeah, Paul needed Jesus' appearance. That's what converted Paul. Many hard-hearted Jews believed because Lazarus was raised from the dead in the book of John. Many followed Jesus after they saw that. Many followed Jesus because of the miracles. Surely this must be the Son of God. He commanded the wind to stand still in the walking on water scene. Why is it that they had the Old Testament scriptures, but yet they believe because of what Jesus did? Why are they privileged to this and not me? So I'm pretty firm on this one. I'm pretty doxastically closed on this marker. Call me closed-minded, but I'm just asking for what convinced a lot of people back then, if it's true. And guess what? Here's a real kicker. I'd make the claim I don't need Christianity. You know why? Because I don't believe hell exists. Even if I became a Christian, I mean, it would be really a tough pill to swallow to believe that hell exists, the eternal conscious torment version. I can sort of see conditional, annihilationism or universalism. But why would you choose freely to worship a God that would create such a system? But yeah, I don't feel I need Christianity. I'd say there's one selfish reason I would need Christianity. And if, let's say tomorrow I get diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and I really want to live, let's say, which I do. I still have young kids. I still got more things to do. It'd be nice to have like get well soon card from God, that I could pray to an all-powerful God to get rid of the cancer. Let's say I got in a car accident and I lost my eye. I lost both eyes. Like they were like crushed. Wouldn't it be cool if I could pray to a God to get my eyes back and see again? So in that sense, if Christianity is true, I would need it for that. Well, that's just all about you, Doug. You being selfish of what God can do for you. Well, hey, Christians, guess what? You're just as selfish. What did God do for you? You want your sins forgiven, don't you? You want a clean slate. You want to be born again, don't you? You want to see your family again in heaven, don't you? You want the comfort and the peace that only Christ can satisfy, don't you? Don't tell me I'm selfish, because you're just as selfish, if not more. So take that. Oh yeah, I'll pray for more hair. There you go. I'm watching myself in the replay. I'm having way too much fun. If there's a Christian who can do a better job than Japtheth or Arturo, the bar is low. I mean, if you are a Christian who can breathe, get a few syllables out, I mean, you're well on your way. No offense, Arturo and Japtheth. I had a great time talking to you, Japtheth. I really did. Arturo, not so much. But Japtheth, yeah, I'm. And Arturo, you're probably a really nice guy in real life. I'd hate to see your house, though. My guess is you have red velvet on your walls, Arturo. That's the thing, Ethio. Like, if I prayed to God to give me a full head of hair, I might look worse. You can see me running out of arguments. You know, it's a good point, Arturo. Let me address this whole thing about arguments and stuff. There are atheists on YouTube who will spend hours and hours talking about the minutia, about the Bible, about the Quran. I mean, just go into great detail. But it's been obvious to me over the years of doing this that mostly these are not the real issues. You saw this with Arturo today, and you saw this with Japtheth. It is this existential angst. This is the deep longing for explanation. The hope, meaning, and purpose of life. And once you find a potential replacement for this, most of the time you're going to spin your wheels. Like the atheists who talk about contradictions in the Bible forever and ever and ever. All you have to do is go to Testify's channel. Hi, Eric. And listen to how he resolves all these contradictions in the Bible. Then you have to sit back and ask yourself, as the atheist content creator on YouTube, am I wasting my time here? As, what's his name? This name eludes me. Christians can harmonize almost anything. But I do grant this, the sheer weight of the number of things to resolve and harmonize, it weighs the Christian down after a while, and they can kind of break. But if you're a young earth creationist, like you guys have seen this, you can present all the evidence for an old earth that you want, from ice cores to radiometric dating, to layers to fossils, you name it. Doesn't make a dent. If they need this belief to survive, if they feel they need it to survive, and to get this explanation and hope, meaning, and purpose. Like Rebecca, I think she's a nice young lady. You can see this clear as day. It's the other experiences where she's had that she thinks she's seen these real miracles, which, by the way, is not a bad reason if her standards are just too low. She needs to see amputees get their limbs back. People have been dead for years raised from the dead. So if you think you can just keep pounding facts in people and get them to change their mind, most of the time you be wrong. The exception to that is like a clear demonstration that they can't deny. It's right in front of their eyes. And a substitute for what they think this religion's giving them. And I know this sounds like horrible bad news for atheists who want to debate the Bible. But if you're going to debate the Bible, my suggestion is you go for the really top tier stuff, like the nature of God stuff, like the real problem of evil, what Japtheth and I were discussing. The only other way to go about it is to spend years and years of just slowly chopping things, slowly chipping away at things. But if you can get to the big picture stuff, the emotional needs, the psychological needs, the big picture contradictions where they just can't consolidate it anymore. Like a previous caller brought up, and I agree with him in principle, I just disagree with how he went about it. The principles of God being all merciful and all just. Like that's pretty much a contradiction right there, by definition. But again, Christians will find, well, he's all merciful when he wants to be all merciful, and he's all just when he wants to be just, because I understand that justice is the withholding of mercy, and vice versa. And then the social factor of your friends and your family all believing this. And if you leave, the consequences, the sunk costs involved. I've spent so much time in my life. My life is now going to be wasted if I leave Christianity or leave Islam. That's what a lot of them think. Like, no, it has to be true. I mean, if it's not true, then I've wasted my life. Like, this is how they feel. And for the most part, for a big part, they're right. Well, mostly right. It's not completely wasted. There's still good things that religion can offer. But this is why so many atheists are bitter and angry when they leave, because they feel like they've been lied to for most of their life. They do lose friends. So I think the best advice, if your goal is to deconvert someone, is become their friend and stick to the top level, top tier stuff. Avoid the minutia. Get to the stuff that really matters to them, and then get to the point where you can articulate what they believe and they can articulate what you believe so well you couldn't tell the difference between you two. And then it will either click or it won't. I still have not figured out why some people leave and some people stay. Like what? Like even people with existential angst can leave. I've seen it. And then they need hours and hours of counseling. With deconversion, my mantra is you can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. But you know, Chad, you do understand how that sounds so condescending to a Christian listening right now, right? So I wouldn't even phrase it that way. Because you're basically telling them that to deconvert is to help themselves. And a Christian is going to hear you and just turn off. So I think a better strategy is to look someone in the eye and sincerely, if you can, say, if they're not a dangerous Christian, say, stay a Christian. I mean, it's fine. And then they'll ask you, well, why aren't you a Christian? You know, here's probably the best answer you can give a Christian who, if a Christian comes up to you and says, why aren't you a Christian? There's a couple answers I give, but a really good one is just look them straight in the eye and say, I don't need it. That answer bothers them. I guarantee it does. Because that is the antithesis of what Christianity is all about. You need Christianity, and the gospel is the good news of how to solve that problem of your need to get rid of your sin or whatever. So when you look them in the eye and say, I don't need it, they vehemently disagree with you. Yes, you need it. And it's so sad you don't even realize you need it. This is how they think. But then you show them. You demonstrate your life. Tell me why I need it. Look at my life. I'm a pretty moral guy, even based on your standard of morality. I'm a productive member of society. I'm content. I might even be way more content than most Christians out there because I don't worry about X, Y, and Z. I've come to terms with my mortality. I don't want to live forever. Tell me again why I need it. The only good answer they can give you is eternal conscious torment, really. And that's a pretty bad good answer. And then another good way to answer the question, why aren't you a Christian, is to say the evidence doesn't match the claim. And then you can run things like the flying man to demonstrate, look, you're like me. You wouldn't believe this either if you were me. Why don't Christians evangelize Muslims? They do. Christians, there's many Christians who have evangelized to Muslims. What about the Mormon brow? Brow? What about atheists who turn to Yeshua at PineCreek? What about them? I'm reminded of that French philosopher, Guillemot, or whatever his name is. You listen to his testimony. Why did he become a Christian? Because he met a girl, goes into a church, gets good feelings. If I would say the majority of the time, the reason why atheists become Christians is because of a need. That's why I said, if you tell a Christian as an atheist that you don't need Christianity, they're going to be dejected. They're going to be sad. They're going to be depressed for you. Because if you don't have needs, or you even, like, to steel man them, if you are deceived into thinking you don't have needs, Christianity's dead on arrival. You have to be needy in order to become a Christian. Are you listening, Caption Christianity? Or the people who listen for him? You have to be deeply needy in order to become a Christian. Because if you're not needy, if you don't have any of this need to have your sins forgiven, to have eternal life, then even if you can force yourself to believe some of the stuff in the Bible, or some of the claims made, you can say, okay, yeah, it could be true, but I don't care. I'm not going to follow it. Like, why do I need it? Sure, Jesus rose from the dead, but who cares? What do you mean, who cares? He died for your sins. Okay, whatever you say. Like, if you had that attitude to a Christian, they would know what to do with you. Why are you risking so much with this non-cavalier attitude, Doug? This is what they're going to think. Which shows you it boils all down to hell. Last call. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. It's a bar joke. Will there be poker in hell? That's a contradiction in terms. If there's poker in the afterlife, you're in heaven. By the way, I run a home game. If you're interested, play Texas Hold'em, Omaha high-low. Let me know, email me. My email address is in the About tab in the community page or homepage. How's a pair of aces losing? Yeah. When I get pocket aces, I just assume I've lost and pleasantly surprised when I win. How does a Mennonite know bar jokes? It's a good question. A terrorist, an Islamic terrorist, walks into a bar, says, "I'll take a whiskey." He says, "On the rocks." The terrorist says, "I'll take a whiskey on the rocks." And the bartender says, "Oh, you want ice?" He said, "Yeah, I want ice, but I want more ice than that." "Oh, you want ISIS?" That's a Letterkenny joke. I love Letterkenny. So, guys, what I was saying earlier, I'll just read Arturo's comments. He's the epitome of need. Searching for meaning. Being guided. Purpose, as Japtheth says. Explanation. Why are we here? How does consciousness work? Mike, I felt good when I prayed. These are the things that matter way more than spinning your wheels on what hour of the day was Jesus crucified. That's the worst joke I've ever heard from you, Doug. Well, let me see if I can beat that. And some of you have heard this one. This is my favorite joke, by the way. What does a snail say when riding on the back of a turtle? What does a snail say when riding on the back of a turtle? Wee. Now, if you don't laugh at that joke, there's no hope for you. You deserve eternal conscious torment. Oh, John Robertson. John Robertson. You destroyed the joke. Gave it away. Have you guys heard my horse joke? So there's these 3 old retired race dogs, 2 greyhounds and a whippet. They're in a bar. They're retired race dogs. They're talking about the days of their youth when they were racing. And this one greyhound looks at the other greyhound and the whippet and says, "You're not going to believe this. I got to tell this racing story. I was in this race. I was way ahead. Lengths and lengths ahead. There wasn't a dog close to me. I was chasing that rabbit, fake rabbit. But just before I crossed the finish line, whammo, tore up my groin muscle, fell flat right there, lost the race. This other greyhound says, you're not going to believe this. Something similar happened to me. I was in this race in the days of my youth. I was a strong greyhound. And I would start out slow, and then as the race progressed, I would pass dog after dog after dog, and that's what happened. And as I was making my surge to get first place right at the finish line, whammo! Tore my groin muscle, fell flat right there, lost the race. This whippet looks at the two greyhounds. This is uncanny. I mean, when I was younger, I was in this race. Same thing happened to me, except I was in the middle of the pack, and I was making my surge. I had the race won in the bag, but just before I crossed the finish line, I tore my groin muscle and I fell flat right there. Meanwhile, there's this old retired racehorse, and he's listening to these retired race dogs talking about the days of their youth, and he trots over and he says, excuse me, gentlemen, for interrupting, but I couldn't help but overhear you guys talking about your racing stories. And this is uncanny. You're not going to believe this. I was in this race, me and the jockey, we were lengths ahead. We were guaranteed to win. But just before I crossed the finish line, I tore my groin muscle, fell flat right there, and lost the race. These three old retired race dogs, they looked at one another and they said, well, what do you know? A talking horse. This thing on? Hello? Well, what do you know? A talking horse. This is how you convert people to Christianity. I mean, out of Christianity into atheism. This is how you deconvert people from Christianity. You tell jokes like this. Because, seriously, an atheist who can tell jokes that good must have the truth on his side. Glad you laugh at your own jokes. Well, of course, I am so thankful that I'm funny. You know why? Because I'm always around to entertain myself. I'm like God. Like, I don't need to create. I got myself. Now everybody's telling jokes in the live stream chat and failing. Next week I'll tap dance. If you didn't know, I had another channel. It's the PineCreek political channel. If you're thick-skinned and you like to think outside the box, check that out, PineCreek Politics. I'm usually on Tuesdays there, Thursdays here. Thanks for hanging out. Don't be a socialist. Don't get things for free. Like and subscribe. Oh, I feel so dirty.